Chapter 994. The Thunder Drum of Divinity was the name of this area. This was completely guided by the command medallion. Everyone had to pass through this area, and it was considered an examination point. When the two of them appeared, they could feel the cold gazes from all directions. Yi Tianyun looked back fearlessly and saw that many cultivators had already arrived. However, when he entered this area, he felt that he had entered another space. You cannot attack the other party in the Thunder Drum of Divinity area. Violators will be sentenced to death. The message from the token entered his mind. This meant that this was a safe zone. No wonder the other party only looked over and didn't dare to attack him. Boom! As soon as he entered, a loud thunder sound came from the front, resounding through the clouds. A terrifying wave was transmitted from the thunder drum. However, it was just a wave. What was truly terrifying was that after the thunder drum sounded, the sky started to flicker. An incomparably thick divine thunder smashed down and hit the ground. Boom! The ground wasn't blasted open as expected. Instead, the stone slabs on the ground were lit up. The words on the stone slabs were lit up layer by layer. Soon, they stopped at the words 4th grade. Damn it, only 4th grade. The 6th refined Earth Lord sighed and shook his head. Shortly after, a ray of light flashed in the air. 40 tokens fell down and were easily caught by him. Then he dashed forward and didn't stay here any longer. I can get 60 tokens at the 4th grade level. This is simply a good place to earn tokens. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. The token had just transmitted the rules here. These 10 thunder drums of divinity were all tools for the test. What they needed to do was to throw a punch. The stronger the punch, the stronger the divine thunder. After the divine thunder smashed down, the higher the grade of the steel it hit, the more tokens one would get. 1st grade was the lowest. One would get 5 tokens. 2nd grade would get 15 tokens. 3rd grade would get 30 tokens. 4th grade would get 60 tokens. 5th grade would get 90 tokens. 6th grade would get 150 tokens. 7th grade would get 300 tokens. 8th grade would get 1,000 tokens. 9th grade would get 5,000 tokens. This was simply a godlike increase. At the end, the number would increase by several times. It was really scary. That's right. There are already 60 pieces at the 4th grade. If we continue to go up, we'll definitely be able to fly. Murong Zhao's eyes lit up. She also wanted to get a good result. Right now, she didn't have many tokens, so if she could make a killing here, she would immediately rush up. It was much more profitable than robbing, especially for rank 6 and above. If it reached rank 9, it would be 5,000 bucks. Just thinking about it at the rank 9 level was enough. To be able to give out such a terrifying reward, the difficulty must be extremely shocking. Look, that's a super genius from the 9 divine realms. His name is Earth Monarch Sun Shui. He seems to have collected 400 to 500 tokens, and his talent is even more astonishing. Now that I've already reached the 7 refinements Earth Monarch level, I wonder what kind of results I can produce? He's definitely a 4th grade martial artist or above. He's much stronger than the previous one. It was just that the name sounded a little feminine, Snow Forest Earth Lord. He looks like a big guy. If I didn't know better, I would have thought he was a girl. Quite a number of cultivators were resting at the side. This was the best place for them to rest since they couldn't fight here. The name was indeed interesting, Snow Forest Earth Lord. He looked very demonic. His entire body was snow white, and even his hair was white. He exuded a chilly aura from head to toe. It was obvious that he had an ice attribute physique. When looking at him from the side, he did look like a woman. However, he was actually a man, just that his appearance was more feminine. He pinched his thumb and middle finger and flipped in the air. A white snow lotus bloomed in the air, and snowflakes fell rapidly from the surroundings. Netherworld white snow. Accompanied by a feminine shout, the white snow lotus collided with the godly thunder drum. When it was about to collide with the godly thunder drum, the snow lotus suddenly turned into an ice phoenix and collided with it. Boom! When the ice phoenix collided with the godly thunder drum, a loud sound was heard. The huge ice phoenix turned into a pile of snowflakes and drifted down, giving everyone a scare. They thought that the godly thunder drum had been pierced through. In reality, it didn't pierce through the godly thunder drum. However, the sound that was transmitted to them seemed to have pierced through the godly thunder drum. Boom! A shockwave immediately shot up into the sky. Following that, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and smashed on the stone tablet in front of them. Soon, layers of light stacked on top of each other. First rank, second rank, third rank, fifth rank. Finally, this terrifying shockwave displayed the power of a fifth rank. Although they did not know how to define it, it was quite amazing to be able to unleash the power of a fifth rank. Immediately, 90 tokens fell into the hands of Earth Lord Sun Shui. Only fifth rank? Earth Lord Sun Shui was dissatisfied. He then continued to try. Everyone had 3 chances. Earth Lord Sun Shui bombarded the tokens again and again. On the second attempt, it was a 6th rank. On the third attempt, it was still a 6th rank. Immediately he obtained 390 tokens. It was a piece of cake. After obtaining the tokens, Earth Lord Sun Shui floated away. It would be admirable if it was a woman, but it was a man. His beautiful expression was even more attractive than a woman's. The highest is a 6th rank. It's amazing. The 9 territories celestial realm is not bad to be able to nurture such a genius. That's nothing. The previous Earth Lord Tianqing was even more impressive. He directly produced a 8th rank. The first 2 times he produced a 7th rank, and the last time he produced a 8th rank. What a steal! What? Someone actually produced a 8th rank? Of course. Earth Lord Tianqing was not the only one who produced such a shocking result. There was another one who produced a 8th rank as well. Everyone took a deep breath. They did not expect someone to produce a 8th rank. It was unprecedented. 8th rank. Tianyun looked at the divine thunder drum. Through the appraisal eye, he could tell how much strength was required to produce a 8th rank. Although it did not represent all of the strength, it could at least show a part of the standard. To produce a 8th rank, one would need to be at least at the level of the Lord of Heaven. This meant that these Earth Lords had the power of the Lord of Heaven. No wonder Nian Ciu said that it would be great if they could make it to the top 10. If they were to unleash their full power, it would be even more unbelievable. Although they could earn a lot of tokens, it was impossible for them to unleash their full power here. It would undoubtedly be equivalent to exposing their strength. Therefore, the real situation would definitely be much stronger than it was now. Come on, let's see how far we can go. Murong Xiao was eager to try. She also wanted to see what level she could reach. Chapter 995. Tianyun and Murong Xiao were ready. They walked towards the God's War Thunder Drum. There were 10 God's War Thunder Drums here, and there were always people challenging them. However, compared to the previous ones, they were not outstanding. They were all rank 2 or 3, and the most were rank 4. One could imagine how much weaker they were compared to the previous ones. Especially when they used all their strength, they still had such ordinary results. It could only be said that it would be extremely difficult for them to enter the top 100. Miss Mu. At this time, a familiar voice came from the side. Tianyun turned his head. If it was not Yuan Tianyu, who else could it be? Not only Yuan Tianyu, but Sima Kong was also here. Originally, they could have come earlier. However, they helped Murong Xiao treat her injuries on the way, which delayed their journey. Otherwise, he would have been here long ago, and they would not have arrived first. When Yuan Tianyu saw Tianyun beside her, his face sank. He did not expect that Tianyun would be with Murong Xiao. So it's you. Murong Xiao looked at them indifferently. It seems that you are here early. It's just that there are fewer people compared to before. Yuan Tianyu's team had indeed lost a lot of people. Basically, more than half of them were gone. This made Sima Kong and the others feel very embarrassed. They had indeed lost a lot of people. We encountered many strong enemies along the way. It's normal to have losses. Most of us made it through. Yuan Tianyu explained for them. What does that have to do with me? Murong Xiao replied indifferently. She turned her head to Tianyun and said, Let's go. Let's try the God's War Thunder Drum and see what grade it can reach. She spoke to Yi Tianyun with enthusiasm. She was not as cold as she was to Yuan Tianyu. Okay. Yi Tianyun was also too lazy to look at Yuan Tianyu and the others. He lifted his foot and walked forward. What's going on? Why did their relationship suddenly become better? Yuan Tianyu clenched his fists tightly. Previously, they were clearly not together, which made him secretly happy. Who would have thought that not long after, the two of them would stay together and have a good relationship? Junior brother Yuan, isn't this your chance to shine? You have made some progress in your cultivation these past few days. The Divine Battle Thunder Drum is the best opportunity for you to perform. Sikong Ma gestured for Yuan Tianyu to try the Thunder Drum of God's Battle. Winning the heart of a beauty with true strength was the simplest and most brutal way. That's true. Yuan Tianyu looked up to the sky and let out a long roar. He stomped on the ground and pounced towards the God Battle Thunder Drum. He turned into a bolt of lightning and streaked across the sky. A huge thunder dragon roared behind him as if it had really turned into a real dragon. In fact, he had the bloodline of the Dragon Clan, so his talent was naturally not bad. Such a shocking performance attracted the attention of many. The power of the sixth refinement earthly lord was fully released. Thunder Dragon Roar. Yuan Tianyu threw a heavy punch. With a dong sound, the divine battle thunder drum rumbled. Rings of energy fluctuations began to surge into the sky. Soon, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and began to light up the words on the stone tablet. Soon, the first and second grades rose and finally stopped at the 5th grade level. He had perfectly obtained 90 tokens. It was quite a good result. Compared to the one that Yi Tianyun saw at the beginning, it was a level stronger. The cultivation was the same, but the power was completely different. This was only the first punch. It might even reach the 6th grade level later on. Landing from the sky, Yuan Tianyu was quite satisfied with his punch. He looked towards Murong Xiao to see if Murong Xiao was attracted by him. The 5th grade level is not bad. Yi Tianyun nodded and looked at Yuan Tianyu in a new light. It was not that the power was very strong, but for Yuan Tianyu to be able to display such power in such a situation, he was quite capable. You call this not bad? You can't even squeeze into the top 100, right? It's just average, right? Murong Xiao's poisonous tongue was displayed again. She did not show any mercy to Yuan Tianyu. Yuan Tianyu was a little annoyed. His punch was not bad, but it was only average? Miss Mu, I wonder if you can give me some advice? He had been scolded, and now he was finally angry. He thought that he could get the favor of the beauty, but who knew that he would be scolded instead? Yi Tianyun shook his head. It seemed that Yuan Tianyu was driven crazy. Just watch. Murong Xiao sneered. She stepped on the ground and leaped high. In an instant, a giant tree appeared behind her. The dense branches and leaves covered the sky. Then, like a giant tree that crashed into the bronze bell, she charged forward fiercely. Dong! A deafening sound was heard. The entire divine battle thunder drum shook and almost moved back. Then, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and smashed into the ground. Then, the number on it lit up and finally stopped at the 6th grade level. Soon, 150 tokens were easily obtained. It directly crushed Yuan Tianyu's punch. How do you feel? Murong Xiao looked at Yuan Tianyu and smiled. I know your intention. If you want to chase after me, you have to at least be stronger than me. Do you understand? These words were quite straightforward. Murong Xiao was not a fool. She could see that Yuan Tianyu wanted to chase after her. If he could not even beat her, what was the point of chasing after her? Yuan Tianyu's expression was ugly. Then he roared and continued to smash the divine battle thunder drum. However, no matter how hard he smashed, it was still at the 5th grade level. He could not reach the 6th grade level, unless he burned his blood essence or something. However, burning his blood essence here was obviously not rational. In the end, the last 3 attempts all ended at the 5th grade. The number of tokens obtained was still considerable. However, he still could not surpass Murong Xiao's results. He could only stay behind. 3 attempts, and you can't even surpass me once? Murong Xiao laughed softly. Then, under everyone's gaze, she smashed down heavily. With a boom, it finally reached the 7th grade level. It actually had the power of a 7th grade. Murong Zhao's potential was not to be underestimated. Yuan Tianyou's face was pale. He thought that his strength could catch up with Murong Zhao. Now, it seemed that he was wrong. He could not catch up at all. Then, Murong Zhao smashed down heavily again. The 3rd time, it fell to the 6th grade. However, it was not bad. She obtained 600 tokens and left Yuan Tianyou far behind. The poison is not completely cleaned. Are there any restrictions? Yi Tianyun walked over and asked. A little. Murong Zhao's face was pale. Her performance was not good because the poison was acting up a little. Of course, it could not continue if it was not completely cleaned. Then rest well. When the poison is removed, we will act again. Yi Tianyun said. Chapter 996. Yi Tianyun smiled and looked up at the thunder drum of God. Should he use his full strength, or should he just perform normally? When he was about to give it a try, a harsh voice came from the side. Is this the strength of the heavenly mandate realm? It still feels ordinary. Speaking of which, Murong Zhao has made some progress, but he still has a long way to go. At this time, a beautiful girl walked over. She wore a blue dress, and her long skirt fluttered in the wind. She was about the same age as Murong Zhao, and the two obviously knew each other. There were many cultivators behind her. They should be from the same sect as her, or they were her supporters. They all looked at her with fanatical eyes. So it's Yu Qingling. I was wondering who it was. You still haven't changed your arrogance? Murong Zhao's words were sarcastic, and she felt extremely disdainful of her. Miss Yu, long time no see. Yuan Tianyou hurried over to greet her, his eyes flashing with surprise. That's right, senior brother Yuan, long time no see. Your performance just now was not bad. Compared to before, you have improved a lot. Yu Qingling's phoenix eyes revealed a look of pleasant surprise. It seemed that she was interested in Yuan Tianyou. It's just that I haven't used my full strength yet. Yuan Tianyou scratched his head in embarrassment, feeling like he was bathing in a cool breeze. Then Yu Qingling looked at Yi Tianyun, looked him up and down, and said with a smile, Murong Zhao, your taste is really bad. You want this kind of man? He doesn't look very powerful. Did the Mu clan allow you two to be together? Yu Qingling, clean your mouth for me. He is not my man, he is my friend. Murong Zhao immediately retorted, but her pretty face was a little red. Why are you in such a hurry to refute? But it is rare to see our Miss Mu with a man. There must be something fishy. Yu Qingling smiled and said, he just looks a little bad. I really feel sorry for young Master Ling. She gave up young Master Ling's pursuit and went with this unknown boy. Don't worry, he's 100 times better than that young Master Ling. Just his character alone is many times better than that young Master Ling. Murong Zhao said sarcastically. Yi Tianyun rubbed his nose. His luck was indeed pretty good. He could see the general situation now, which was that the relationship between the two clans was not very good. The other party represented the Fire Jade Divine Realm. He believed that, like the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm, they were both external reinforcements. Yu Qingling's cultivation was similar to Murong Zhao's. They were both at the 7th Refinement Earth Monarch realm, but in terms of overall strength, there wasn't much to see. Oh, so outstanding? Yu Qingling sneered. In my opinion, being able to reach the 5th grade is already the most he can do. How is this not bad? Young Master Ling has already come here before and easily obtained a rank 7. If he unleashes a little more power, even a rank 8 won't be a problem. It was very obvious that Yu Qingling was on young Master Ling's side. She probably had a good impression of young Master Ling, but young Master Ling ignored her and only wanted to pursue Murong Zhao. 7th grade? Murong Zhao covered her mouth and chuckled. He can reach the 8th grade. Young Master Ling isn't even worth a strand of his hair. Yi Tianyun gasped at the side. Wasn't this attracting hatred for him? He couldn't help but pat Murong Zhao's head and stare at her. What are you talking about? Are you trying to cause trouble for me? Murong Zhao covered her head and looked at him pitifully. Big brother Tianyun, can you help me? Help me. After this is over, I will definitely repay you well. Lee Tianyun rolled his eyes at her. He didn't accept this kind of request at all. Oh, how arrogant. You're not even worth a strand of his hair. Yu Qingling looked at Lee Tianyun and sneered. You can reach the 8th grade? Then show me? Murong Xiao, your taste is really getting worse. The human race is so trash, and he's from an ordinary god realm. I really feel embarrassed for you. In my opinion, he's not even worth a strand of young masterling's hair. Lee Tianyun looked at her and said indifferently, I don't care how the two of you fight. But isn't it too boring for you to bring up the human race? Did I say anything wrong? Yu Qingling spread her hands and looked at him with a disdainful smile. The human race has always been at the bottom of the hierarchy. If they continue to reproduce with our bloodline, what future will their descendants have? Yu Qingling, shut up. Murong Xiao sneered. Don't think that you're very noble. The human race is at the bottom, but they've never given up. Oh, just because your mother is a human, you're so supportive of the human race? To be honest, if you hadn't inherited your father's bloodline, do you think you would have such talent today? Yu Qingling pointed out some things. Murong Xiao trembled with anger. Just as she was about to say something, Tianyun reached out and pressed down on her little head. Sometimes, don't be so cheap with your mouth. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died, Tianyun said indifferently. Are you threatening me? With just you? Yu Qingling was not afraid at all. She was not weak herself, and she had a group of people behind her. I don't care what grudges there are between the two of you, but you'll soon find that you're not even as good as the human race. A pile of trash. As soon as he finished speaking, Lee Tianyun turned around and rushed towards the divine war thunderdrum. Who are you calling trash? Yu Qingling shouted coldly. However, Tianyun had already rushed out and ignored her. Dragon God Bloodline, activate. Heaven-shaking divine art, activate. Phoenix Bloodline, activate. Ancient set, activate. He activated it layer by layer. As he madly rushed forward, each step left a deep footprint on the ground. Just as he was about to rush under the divine war thunderdrum, he stomped on the ground with all his might and flew up like a bomb. He quickly turned around in the air and kicked the divine war thunderdrum. Boom! This loud sound seemed to resound through the 9 heavens. Immediately after, the divine war thunderdrum let out a crack sound and caved in. The huge divine war thunderdrum actually retreated a little. Kaboom! A huge bolt of lightning struck down from the sky and landed heavily on the stone tablet. The words on the tablet began to appear layer by layer, and finally stopped at the 8th grade. With just one kick, it had the power of an 8th grade. Everyone was shocked. This was not the end. Lee Tianyun, in the air, quickly turned around and kicked again. This time, the strength was even more terrifying than before. Boom! The divine war thunderdrum moved half a step back again, and a huge bolt of lightning struck down from the sky again. It was still the 8th grade, but it was already at the limit of the 8th grade. It was only a little bit away from the 9th grade. Open for me! Lee Tianyun roared. His right foot instantly turned into a huge meteorite. With the support of the planet energy in his body, he was now like a planet, smashing down heavily. Boom! The divine war thunderdrum was kicked back another meter. The sky was filled with terrifying lightning, and after a while, it fell from the sky. Kaboom! Chapter 997. The sound waves transmitted by the thunderdrum of God's war were layered, striking hard on everyone's mind. They felt like a huge rock was pressing on their chests. Under this impact, many people could not help but take a few steps back. If they were hit by this force, they would probably be seriously injured even if they did not die. However, no one cared about this. They were all staring at the stone tablet that was emitting a dazzling light. Rank 9. Rank 9. This was an unbelievable level. It meant that they could enjoy the highest honor, obtain the strongest proof, and even obtain the highest reward, 5,000 tokens. 5,000 tokens far exceeded the level of a rank 8. It could be said that they were not even on the same level. Now, it was obtained by Yi Tianyun, a human. Just like what he said before, those who looked down on humans were now worse than humans. They had always said that humans were trash. Then what would they be called when they were worse than humans? They were undoubtedly the trash among the trash. 9, rank 9. When the group of people saw the number on the stone tablet, they rubbed their eyes hard. They could not believe the situation in front of them. It was actually rank 9. A value that no one dared to imagine was now presented in front of them. When Murong Xiao came back to her senses, she waved her arms excitedly and said in surprise, "Brother Tianyun, you're amazing." She was dancing with joy. She was very happy with Yi Tianyun's performance, which was beyond her expectations. Initially, she thought that it would be enough for Yi Tianyun to reach rank 8. Who knew that a rank 9 would appear out of nowhere? Among so many contestants, no one could reach rank 9. Yu Qingling's expression changed instantly. She did not expect Yi Tianyun to reach rank 9. This result was really crushing young Master Ling compared to him. Young Master Ling was really a hair's breadth. Yi Tianyun slowly descended from the sky and kicked 3 times in a row. He felt quite good. This wasn't even his full strength. He was only using his current state, and he hadn't even used his crazy damage mode yet. Ding! A ray of light flashed in the sky, followed by a pile of tokens falling from the sky. He easily collected them into his pocket. 2 rank 8 and 1 rank 9. He immediately collected 7,000 tokens. Just thinking about it made him feel scared. If he focused on robbing, he would have to defeat at least 7,000 people to obtain that much. If they could easily obtain it here, they would definitely be able to kill a large group of contestants. After Yi Tianyun put away the token, he turned to look at Yu Qingling and saw a group of dumbfounded expressions. Yuan Tianyu couldn't even close his mouth. He had thought that he would be able to get close to Yi Tianyun, but now it seemed like he was overthinking. The two of them were not even on the same level. Being able to reach the 6th stage was already something to be proud of. Compared to Yi Tianyun's 9th level, his 6th level is really not enough. It is simply garbage. From this comparison, one could tell that a 6th pin fighter would get 150 pieces at most, while a 9th pin fighter like Yi Tianyun would get 5,000 pieces. This was a difference of dozens of times, which was hard to make up for. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with them. He looked at Murong Xiao and said indifferently, "Let's go." "You, wait a moment." Yu Qingling hurriedly called out to him. When Yi Tianyun turned his head to look at her, he saw that her beautiful eyes flashed, and an evil light was released from her eyes. It was like an illusion, and it penetrated deep into Yi Tianyun's eyes. Yi Tianyun's heart began to be charmed by the power of the illusion. Her eyes were like black vortexes, wanting to suck in a person's consciousness. It was impossible to attack here, but this illusion was not an attack, so it was not against the rules. Yi Tianyun walked towards Yu Qingling step by step, and Yu Qingling revealed a victorious smile. Murong Xiao immediately noticed the situation here. Just as he was about to shake Yi Tianyun awake, he had already walked in front of Yu Qingling and said coldly, "You want to charm me with this broken illusion? If it weren't for the fact that I'm here, I would have dug out your eyes right now." Scram! Yi Tianyun coldly snorted, and his aura, which was compressed to the extreme, burst out, forcing Yu Qingling to take a few steps back. Finally, she staggered and fell to the ground. You're actually not affected by my charm." Yu Qingling's eyes were filled with fear. She didn't expect that Yi Tianyun wouldn't be affected by her charm. Most men would be more or less affected by her charm. Even if they weren't controlled, they would at least be attracted to her. Her physique was rather special, and it was easy for her to attract the gazes of men. The crowd behind her was the same. It wasn't that they were being controlled, but that they were involuntarily attracted to this charming physique. This kind of natural physique was extremely attractive to men. However, it was of no use to Yi Tianyun at all. It didn't attract him at all, and instead, he was scolded miserably. "Your charm is simply disgusting. It's like a sow smiling at me. Do you think I'll be charmed by you?" Yi Tianyun mocked. "Poochie, you're really vicious." Murong Xiao burst out laughing. He pointed at Yu Qingling and laughed, "But you're right, you're a sow." Yu Qingling's expression turned ugly. She didn't expect to be called a sow in front of a group of people. It was simply a humiliation. Everyone attack him. Get rid of him. Yu Qingling screamed. Her ear-piercing voice was like that of a female cat whose tail had been stepped on. Many of the crowd were dissatisfied with Yi Tianyun, but Yi Tianyun was an existence that could unleash the power of a Stage 9 expert. Would they be able to fight him? Especially since they couldn't make a move here, they could only watch helplessly. If you can get rid of me, then come up. I still think that the token isn't enough. Yi Tianyun looked at her indifferently and said, I hope you don't become my opponent in the future. Otherwise, don't even think about keeping your mouth. With that, he walked out. Murong Xiao made a face at her and followed Yi Tianyun out. You guys hurry up and catch up to him. Yu Qingling said angrily. We haven't been tested yet. If we leave this place, we won't be able to take the test. You bunch of trash. Yu Qingling's beautiful eyes were blazing. She stared at Yi Tianyun's back and said, Next time will be the day you die. What's the use of brute force? Next time, I'll let young Master Ling kill you. She knew that Yi Tianyun had some ability, but she still believed that young Master Ling could suppress him. After all, he didn't use his full strength. Yi Tianyun clearly used his full strength. Otherwise, how could he unleash such shocking power? Unbeknownst to her, Yi Tianyun also didn't use his full strength. He didn't even use half of his strength. After Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao left, Murong Xiao gave him a thumbs up and said, Big Brother Tianyun, you're really too amazing. How about I call you Big Brother Tianyun from now on? Yi Tianyun shrugged. Although Murong Xiao was a little spoiled, she was much better than Yu Qingling. At least Murong Xiao knew how to distinguish right from wrong. Chapter 998. In the center of the Divine War Continent, many warriors from the gods' realms sat in the audience seats, watching the changes in the sky. The numbers in front were changing rapidly. In particular, Tianqing, who was ranked first, had more than 4,000 tokens, almost 5,000 tokens. He had more than 1,000 tokens compared to the second place. The difference was shocking. When the 9 region masters saw their representative, Earth Lord Sun Shui, getting a good result, they laughed heartily. Not bad. Sun Shui must have gotten a good result at the Divine Thunder Drum. She immediately rushed to the top 100. The 9 region masters were very happy. They looked at Yi Tianyun's ranking and shook their heads. He is still at the bottom. It seems that he has not even reached the Divine Thunder Drum. Maybe he got injured on the way and can't reach the top. Initially, Yi Tianyun's ranking was still relatively high, but with the start of the Divine War Thunder Drum, Yi Tianyun quickly began to fall back to the bottom. After all, if the Divine Thunder Drum reached the 3rd or 4th grade, he would get hundreds of tokens. It was easy for him to increase his ranking. Thank you for your concern. I was just delayed on the way. The Heavenly Mandate Region Master looked indifferent. They looked fine, but they were worried. They should be able to reach the Divine Thunder Drum soon. Who knew that he would be at the bottom in the blink of an eye? They didn't know what had happened. Hey, your people's names are all gone. Is he dead? Or is he out? The 9 region masters suddenly saw that Yi Tianyun's name was gone. The others looked for Yi Tianyun's name, but they couldn't find Yi Tianyun's name. Is he really gone? Yu Yanglong and the others looked around and couldn't find him. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord's eyes swept across the list as well. Like the eyes of an eagle, he scanned through every name below, and they were indeed gone. Did he really fail? The Heavenly Mandate Region Master was a bit disappointed. His hope was gone. When everyone thought that Yi Tianyun had failed, the other gods' realms thought that the Heavenly Mandate Region was doomed. Suddenly, Nian Xiu pointed at the ranking and stuttered, Look at the first place. What's so good about the first place? It's just Lord Tianqing? Lord Tianyun? Nian Xiu's shout made the surrounding people look to the side out of boredom. When they saw that the first place was no longer Heavenly Monarch, but Heavenly Cloud Monarch, they were all dumbfounded. Not only was he ranked first, but he was also able to show disdain for the others with over 8,000 tokens, crushing the existence in second place. More than 8,000 tokens. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord and the others couldn't help but stand up. Not only them, but the other region lords also stood up. A large number of warriors were shocked by this scene. If it wasn't for the two words, Tianyun, behind Tianyun's name, one would definitely think that it was someone with the same name. Now, it seemed that it was not just someone with the same name, but a real Earth Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm. With more than 8,000 tokens, he was definitely a super dark horse, an existence that could crush everyone else. First place, it's really first place. Nian Ciu was about to scream. She didn't look like the Lord of Heaven at all. She was no different from a crazy woman. If Yi Tianyun was next to her, he would definitely hug her. Such a terrible result would definitely make them proud. No, it's impossible. How can he be first? This is unless the thunder drum of God of War reached the level of the 9th grade. Could it be that he reached the level of the 9th grade? The region lord of the 9 regions slumped in his seat, looking at the ranking above in shock. The fiery jade region lord was also shocked. Of course, the most shocked were the god regions with Heavenly Monarch and Heavenly Monarch. When they saw their best disciple being pushed down, they couldn't help but curse. They had always been the ones who had the upper hand, so why were there suddenly some weak god realm powerhouses killing their way up? Is this the truth? The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord's hands were trembling. He was so excited. He had been suppressed all this time. How could they not be shocked that Yi Tianyun could have such a result? It's the truth, it's true. Nian Ciu was ecstatic. I hope this result can be maintained. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord clenched his fists and looked at the ranking above with burning eyes. He was extremely excited. It will be. Nian Ciu saw that not only Yi Tianyun, but Murong Zhao's ranking also shot up. He successfully rushed into the top 100, easily surpassing Earth Lord Snow and the others. At the same time, Yi Tianyun rushed to the next location with Murong Zhao. Yuan Tianyu and the others followed behind. They were all deeply shocked by Yi Tianyun's situation, especially when Yi Tianyun had 8,000 tokens, which filled their eyes with greed. If they could get 1,000 tokens, they would definitely be able to enter the top 100, which meant great glory. What a big failure. If only I could rope him in. Sikong Ma was full of regret. If he had put down his pride and knelt down, or let Yi Tianyun be the leader, he might have had a chance to get a share. Now, he couldn't even act together with them, let alone get a share. Yuan Tianyu's face was even uglier, and he was full of jealousy. Brother Yi, I wonder if you could share some of the tokens? We have many disciples here who don't have any tokens. If Brother Yi could share some, our ranking in the Heavenly Mandate region would be a little higher. Sima Kong braced himself and said sincerely, after all, we are all from the same clan, and the benefits of the group are more important. The benefits of the group are more important? What does that have to do with us? Murong Zhao looked at them and sneered, in my opinion, it is you who want the tokens so that you can squeeze your way up, right? Not everyone. Murong Zhao's heart was like a mirror, and she knew everything clearly. Sikong Ma looked embarrassed. Murong Zhao's mouth was really vicious, and she even dared to say it out loud. It seems that you don't know what the test means, which is to rely on yourself. So what if the tokens I give you are high enough? Do you think you can win the next level after passing this one? Yi Tianyun shook his head and said, instead of thinking so much, it is better to spend more time on cultivation. After that, he left with Murong Zhao, leaving a group of people looking at each other. Sikong Ma clenched his fists and looked at Yi Tianyun's back with hatred. He gritted his teeth and said, no team spirit at all. Let's go. They will never be able to make it to the end, but we can. He continued to bewitch the rest of the clan. This was the only way for him, or he wouldn't be able to make it to the front. He had to make use of what he could, and that was his way. Chapter 999. Yi Tianyun and Murong Zhao continued to follow the token's instructions and move towards their destination. They could ignore the token's instructions and move in another direction. However, the final result was that they had to pass through this place to reach their destination. The thunder drum of divinity was an exception. If they felt that they were strong and had enough tokens, they could choose to go around the side. However, this meant that the distance between them and the contestants would increase. Especially if the contestants were at the 6th or 7th level, the distance would be very shocking. As they moved forward, they soon arrived at their destination. Is this the next screening point? What came into view were two towering mountains. The further they went, the higher they went. There was a tall slope leading to the top, but it was unknown which region it led to. Along the way, there were many contestants who were trying their best to climb up. Looking from below, they found that the contestants were climbing very hard. It was as if they were tied to a mountain and every step was very strenuous. Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream, one of them was sent flying by an invisible force, flying out along the passageway. After flying out, he fell straight down from the sky and hit the ground with a dong sound. He almost fainted. Swish. At this moment, a cultivator who was hiding at the side suddenly rushed up and stabbed the fallen cultivator with his sword. He didn't hold back at all. The contestant who was thrown out had a look of unwillingness in his eyes. Before he could finish his words, a surging force bombarded him and blasted him into pieces. He couldn't be more dead. Following that, a pile of tokens was easily obtained. The contestant's eyes turned cold. He looked around and was ready to guard against a sneak attack from the side. Lee Tianyun also found many contestants hiding in the surrounding forest. They were watching from there. As this contestant wasn't weak and wasn't injured, no one dared to stop him. Instead, they turned their attention back to the contestants who were climbing up. If a contestant was thrown out again, he would undoubtedly be their target. They were waiting here, waiting for someone to be thrown out. Then, they would quickly take their lives and snatch their tokens. The participants in this region would definitely have a lot of tokens on them. Especially after passing the Divine Battle Thunder Drum, there would definitely be a lot of tokens on them. They had fewer tokens on them, so hunting here was undoubtedly a very good choice. But in this way, this place had become a dangerous area. If they were to be sent flying down and there was no one below to receive them, they would definitely be ambushed. As soon as Lee Tianyun and Murong Xiao appeared, they were immediately targeted. If it wasn't for the fact that they seemed to be safe, they would have already pounced on them. They specifically chose those that they were confident in assassinating. If they weren't confident in assassinating, they definitely wouldn't take action. They're just a bunch of people waiting for a hare to come to them. They only know how to take advantage of others' difficulties. Murong Xiao was extremely disdainful of them. There is no such thing as being despicable in battle. The one who survives is the king. Lee Tianyun was indeed displeased with this sort of thing. Taking advantage of the fact that his opponent was down to launch a sneak attack, this was truly despicable. However, they didn't break the rules. If they died here, it could only be said that they weren't capable, not that they were too weak. Immediately, Lee Tianyun lifted his feet and walked forward, signaling Murong Xiao to follow him. When the two of them were about to go up, the eyes of the participants who were hiding on the side flickered. They felt that two fat sheep were about to enter their mouths. This adulterous couple is very likely to be cultivation companions. I'm sure that one of them will definitely be blown down. When the man flies down, I'll take care of him. What do you think? No problem. If it's a woman, I'll take care of her. They had already discussed how to deal with Lee Tianyun and Murong Xiao. When they looked up again, they suddenly found that Lee Tianyun had disappeared. All they saw was Murong Xiao standing at the entrance. If you want to take care of me, you can do it now. A ghostly voice came from behind them, scaring them into rolling backward. When they quickly pulled out their weapons and wanted to attack, a shadow swung over and kicked them heavily. The two of them were kicked away, forming a parabola in the air. Then, they landed heavily on the ground. Their bodies were kicked so badly that they didn't look like humans anymore. When they fell to the ground, they twitched a little and could no longer move. Under Lee Tianyun's kick, the two of them naturally wouldn't be able to survive. Originally, Lee Tianyun couldn't be bothered with them. He just happened to hear them talking about him. Since that was the case, he didn't mind taking care of them in advance. When did you get there? Murong Xiao looked at him in shock. He didn't know what was going on. Lee Tianyun suddenly disappeared. I flew over. Lee Tianyun took out the tokens from their bodies. Then, the corpses disappeared in front of him. Murong Xiao rolled his eyes at him. He was too lazy to say anything. Anyway, Lee Tianyun wouldn't say anything. When the participants who were hiding at the side saw this, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. They knew the strength of the two brothers. If they were taken care of without anyone knowing, it meant that Lee Tianyun's strength was very shocking. This scene caused them to shrink their necks. They didn't dare to go forward and obediently shut their mouths. Lee Tianyun couldn't be bothered with them. He lifted his foot and stepped forward. The moment he stepped in, he immediately felt a gust of wind coming from the front. It wanted to blow him away. As expected of the Divine Wind Valley. Does it belong to this round of assessment? Lee Tianyun squinted his eyes and looked at the participants who were climbing up with difficulty. From the outside, they couldn't feel the slightest bit of wind. They couldn't even hear the sound of wind. When they stepped into this place, it was as if they had stepped into another world. The strong wind whistled in their ears, constantly beating against their eardrums. Just as he entered, the hurricane that rushed toward them was like an invisible hand, slapping them. Pa-pa-pa, sounds rang out, wanting to slap them away. No wonder some people were sent flying. Under this terrifying wind, how could they not be sent flying? Those who had been sent flying were unable to recover from the shock for a while. The only way, the Divine Wind Valley was the only way. If they passed, they wouldn't get any tokens as a reward. But if they didn't pass, even if they had 100,000 tokens, they would still fail. This round of assessment had a time limit. Although it wasn't short, there was still a time limit. If they exceeded the time limit and didn't reach the end, they would be considered to have failed. This wind is really cool. I like this wind. Murong Xiao smiled. He turned his head to look at Lee Tianyun and said, "Here, you definitely can't compare to me. Among all the attributes, wind is the one I'm least afraid of." Chapter 1000. Murong Xiao was so confident because she had her own capital, and that was the Divine Wood Body. When she stepped on it, there was a surge of power under her feet, like the roots of a tree rooted to the ground. How could she not be stable? Murong Xiao did not say much to Lee Tianyun. She began to climb up step by step, and her speed was relatively fast. Every step was so steady, and the astonishing wind's speed did not affect her at all. She was still so calm. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and come up." Murong Xiao's beautiful eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Her personality of wanting to see who would win and who would lose emerged once again. Lee Tianyun smiled slightly and raised his foot to catch up. Because this was a slope, it was more or less difficult to climb up. However, every step he took was also incomparably steady, like a towering mountain, towering and unmoving. He moved forward step by step, and at the same time, the wind's speed became stronger and stronger. Every time it hit him, there was absolutely no blind spot. Not only did it feel like he was being hit by palm after palm, but it also felt like a wall was constantly hitting him, trying to send him flying. The higher he went, the more difficult it was. Roughly estimating the total length, it was less than 10,000 meters. This was not considered far, but as the wind speed increased, it would be troublesome if he climbed to the back and was blown away again, and he had to start all over again. Starting all over again was the best outcome. If he was ambushed, he would be dead for sure. As for flying, if he flew here, he would undoubtedly die faster. The terrifying wind speed would definitely increase by several times, and the death would be even more unsightly. Another scream came from the front, and a figure was blown out of the Divine Wind Valley. Even if he constantly wanted to stabilize his body, fly up, and adjust the angle of his fall, it was clearly too difficult. The other party felt like a mountain was pressing down on him, and he fell straight from the sky. At the same time, the contestants who were hiding at the side flashed with killing intent, ready to attack at any time. Fortunately, the contestant quickly stabilized his body and did not smash to the ground. After spinning in midair, he steadily landed on the ground. At the same time, he took out a long sword and coldly looked around to avoid being ambushed. The killing intent in those ambushers' eyes didn't diminish, but they didn't charge forward. Under such circumstances, They did not dare to rush up. How could the contestants who could climb to the top be weak? Therefore, they could only give up on the sneak attack and continue to hide there, waiting for the next one. When the contestant saw that no one was sneaking up on him, he took a short break to catch his breath. After a while, he continued to climb. Originally, the Divine Wind Valley was already dangerous enough. Now, they also had to be on guard against those sneak attackers, which increased the level of danger by another level. When Yi Tianyun saw this, he shook his head and continued to climb. Through his observations, he discovered that this place was divided into 9 levels, with every kilometer being divided into a level. The 2 contestants who were blown away before were blown away at the 7th level, which was the 7,000-meter level. It could be seen that from here onwards, the difficulty would increase greatly. If one was even the slightest bit unstable, they would be blown away. As for the previous levels, Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao didn't have any problems at all. Instead, Murong Xiao walked a bit faster. Her lower body was very stable, with every step she took deeply into the ground. It was really difficult for her to be blown away. Even if her body looked so delicate, she was like a giant tree, firmly rooted in the ground. There was no pressure at all. "Hurry up, why are you walking so slowly?" Murong Xiao waved at him, indicating that he should quickly catch up. Tianyun smiled and said, "I'm following." They quickly climbed to the 7,000-meter level and prepared to reach the level where they were often blown away. Although there were many contestants beside them, they wouldn't make a move. It was already dangerous enough here. If they made a move, they might be blown away. Therefore, many contestants began to sit cross-legged and rest at the 6,000-meter level, preparing to rush up in one go. The 7,000-meter level was a huge hurdle, or rather, it was getting more and more difficult. If they reached it, they would have to go up in one go, and they couldn't rest here. Their appearance caused the contestants beside them to open their eyes and look in their direction. Especially when they saw that they had no intention of stopping and continued to climb up, they were gloating, as if they could foresee that they were both going to be blown away. They're climbing up without resting. They're definitely going to die. Hee, all the newcomers are like that, thinking that they can definitely go up in one go. They all shook their heads. Too many people were like that, thinking that they were the strongest and could climb up in one go. As a result, when they really went up, just stabilizing their lower body was extremely taxing. Even pills could not replenish it. In the end, they would be blown away. They would either die or have to start all over again. At the same time, Sima Kong and the others quickly arrived. When they saw Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao climbing up, they all had strange expressions. The Divine Wind Valley is an extremely difficult place. If you want to go up, you'll have to take it one step at a time. Especially after the 7,000-meter level, the difficulty will increase significantly. It seems like the 2 of them are not going to rest. Sima Kong was indeed experienced. He knew about these places. He looked around and said to Yuan Tenyu, "I think the 2 of them will most likely be blown away. When that happens, there will be people ambushing them. That's the best time for you to show off. Saving the damsel in distress is a great idea." Sima Kong patted Yuan Tianyu's shoulder, signaling him to make good use of the opportunity. Yuan Tianyu looked to the side and his eyes flickered. This was indeed a great opportunity. Saving the damsel in distress was always effective, regardless of the situation. If he were to save Murong Xiao, it would undoubtedly deepen their relationship. Great! Yuan Tianyu's eyes were filled with gratitude. It would be great if he could change Murong Xiao's opinion of him. Following Murong Xiao, they soon reached the 7,000-meter range, followed by Yi Tianyun. As soon as they stepped into the 7,000-meter range, the wind speed increased by a few times. A strong gust of wind blew toward them. If it was like a palm before, it was now like 4 or 5 palms were slapping at them from all directions. The wind speed has increased a lot. Yi Tianyun was still as stable as Mount Tai. He was completely fine. Even Murong Xiao was able to stay on top of it. The wind speed has increased a lot. Don't get blown away. Murong Xiao turned around and reminded him. It was obvious that he was worried about Yi Tianyun. Chapter 1001. Humph. I'll be blown away. That's impossible. Murong Xiao humphed and said, I've said it before. I don't dare to say anything about other elements, but this wind element is useless to me. After saying that, he continued to climb forward, wanting to prove to Tianyun that he can climb to the finish line in one breath. Tianyun smiled. This little girl is really competitive. She's just like a man, competitive. Then, they continued to climb up step by step, as steady as a rock. The contestants below were stunned. They all thought that Tianyun and Murong Xiao would be blown away soon, or it would be very difficult for them to move forward. They didn't expect them to be able to move forward steadily. It was beyond their expectations. It seems like the 7th stage isn't too difficult for them? Sima Kong squinted his eyes. The 7th stage was not easy, but it did not mean it was difficult. Otherwise, no one would be able to pass it. They could still make it if they put in a little more effort. The problem was how much time they had to spend. At least they had to slowly get used to it. Senior brother Sima, are they going to make it so easily? Yuan Tianyu was not satisfied. Don't worry, the hardest part is yet to come. You still have a chance. Sima Kong said in a deep voice, their strength is not bad, but Lady Mu's strength is still a little weaker. I can see that her lower body is a little unstable. He was experienced and could tell that Murong Xiao was starting to lose her balance. Yuan Tianyu's eyes lit up and he quickly said, I hope everyone can protect me. If it turns out well, I'll reward you handsomely when we get out. Sima Kong could tell, so could Tianyun. Murong Xiao was starting to lose her balance. Murong Xiao kept saying that it was fine, but that did not mean it was fine. It was fine before, but it was starting to become problematic now. The main problem was the poison. The poison in her body had not been cleansed, and she had not fully recovered from her injuries. He initially wanted to let her rest, but she insisted on not resting and continued to move forward. Tianyun could not move away from her, so he could only follow her. Sure enough, when she reached about 8,000 meters, her speed began to slow down, and sweat began to seep from her forehead. However, he was quickly blown away by the wind. His feet became more and more unstable. When he couldn't unleash his full strength, it was indeed more difficult to resist. He could feel the speed of the wind here. It was already shockingly fast, with at least a force of hundreds of billions of kilograms. If they were not careful, they would be blown away immediately. His heaven-shaking divine art could only barely stabilize himself. The rest had to be stabilized by his own strength. Otherwise, he would be blown away. Finally, when she crossed more than 8,000 meters, a gust of wind pressed down on her. She cried out in alarm, and her body lost its balance and was lifted from the ground. Ah! She let out a soft cry. It was too late for her to continue stabilizing her body. There was no way for her to press her body down again. Like a kite with a broken string, she floated outwards. Yuan Tianyu's eyes flashed, and he was ready to catch Murong Xiao. The other contestants hiding at the side all shook their heads. If there was someone protecting them, then they could only give up on sneak attacks. On the other hand, the contestants in the Divine Wind Valley all laughed in schadenfreude. This was a matter of course. Every one of them had failed before, otherwise they wouldn't have stayed here all this time. Just at this time, a long whip suddenly rolled over and firmly grabbed Murong Xiao. For a moment, Murong Xiao was stabilized in the air. She really looked like a kite floating in the air. Idiot, this is undoubtedly courting death. If you dare to help others, the wind speed will be even more astonishing. That's right, a hero saving a beauty. But if you want to be a hero, you have to see if you have the capital. Both of them are about to be blown away. However, it seems like they have someone below to receive them. This doesn't matter. One by one they all laughed. They felt that Tianyun was really stupid. Seeing this situation, Sikong Ma shook his head and said, truly reckless. Do you really think you are invincible? If you help others, the power will increase by 3 or 4 times. Tianyun was in the 8th stage. This meant that with Murong Xiao, he would immediately reach the 9th stage or even higher. Get down. Tianyun suddenly pulled, and the dragon god bloodline in his body exploded. His feet were like nails, firmly fixing him on the ground. No matter how the wind blew, he was not blown away. Following that, a large part of Murong Xiao was suddenly pulled down by him, but she was not blown away. Following that, he dragged her down bit by bit. Finally, she was firmly fixed in front of him. He said in a deep voice, "Stand properly, stabilize the aura in your body. I will stabilize you here." Murong Xiao was shocked. Previously, she was extremely proud of her own ability. Now, it seemed that compared to Yi Tianyun, it was nothing. Yi Tianyun was truly stable. The moment she was blown away, she felt that she could not control herself no matter what. Even flying was useless. She could only let the wind blow her away, but she was forcefully pulled down by Yi Tianyun. This strength was extremely shocking. No matter how violent the wind was, he could pull her down without any resistance and stabilize her on the ground. How is this possible? The people below were all shocked. Some of them stood up from their meditation and looked over in shock. They all thought that Yi Tianyun would definitely be blown away, but he actually stabilized her. Sima Kong and the others were all dumbfounded. This was beyond their common sense. Not only was he not blown away, he was forcefully pulled down. Unbelievable! After Yi Tianyun stabilized Murong Xiao quickly meditated and stabilized herself on the ground to recover. She did not say anything. She knew that this was a difficult place to begin with. If she did, it would be a waste of Yi Tianyun's good intentions. When Murong Xiao stabilized herself, Yi Tianyun only let go of the rope. Only then did the pressure on his body decrease by more than half. He was almost blown away. Luckily, he stabilized himself. This wind is too strong. I almost couldn't take it. Yi Tianyun heaved a sigh of relief. He also meditated and waited for Murong Xiao to recover. Although he knew that Murong Xiao would be fine, with so many people watching, he did not want to let Murong Xiao climb up again. Originally, she was strong enough. It was just that she was too stubborn and forced herself to climb up before she recovered. Wasn't that courting death? The result was obvious. She had not recovered, so she could not stabilize herself. Chapter 1002. In fact, Yi Tianyun didn't need to rest. He just needed to wait for Murong Xiao to recover. After resting for a while, Murong Xiao's pale face recovered quickly. This was the consequence of trying to be brave. If it weren't for him, he would have been blown away. One shouldn't try to be brave. She liked to be brave and didn't want others to see her weakness. After recovering, Murong Xiao opened her eyes slowly. Her beautiful eyes were filled with complex and gratitude. "Brother Tianyun, thank you, you've already called me Brother Tianyun. How can I not protect you?" Yi Tianyun looked at her and said helplessly, "Don't try to be brave. Just take it slow. There's still enough time." After all, even if they reached the finish line immediately, it wouldn't end immediately. They still had to wait for a while at the finish line. As for whether there would be any rewards for reaching the finish line before, he wasn't sure. He felt that it was good enough to advance at this speed. It was safest to advance steadily. "Okay, I know." Murong Xiao nodded obediently this time. She didn't refute him, which surprised Yi Tianyun. However, when he saw that Murong Xiao's favorability toward him suddenly soared to more than 300 or 400, he knew the problem. After helping her several times, her favorability toward him skyrocketed to 300 or 400, which was quite shocking. "So, there's no problem now, right?" Yi Tianyun smiled. "Yes, there's no problem this time." Murong Xiao stood up confidently and began to climb up step by step. This time, she was very stable. She could have passed in one go, but she tried to be brave. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been such an accident. Then, the two of them continued to climb up, step by step, steadily. Yuan Tianyu, who was waiting below, was dumbfounded. It seemed that he didn't need to be a hero to save the damsel in distress. Yin didn't give him the chance at all. Damn it, he took it away again. Yuan Tianyu stomped on the ground angrily. He was quite annoyed and unhappy. He had been prepared from the very beginning, but it was completely useless now. Instead, he was like a fool, standing there foolishly for so long. His strength is immeasurable. Sima Kong shook his head. He had already listed Yi Tianyun as a dangerous person, and he could not afford to go against him. Immediately, they began to climb up. Continuing to stay here was also not a solution. Since Murong Zhao's condition had improved, his climbing speed was quite stable. In the end, he easily reached the top. To her, this wasn't difficult at all. In fact, it wasn't difficult at all. If not for the fact that he was trying to be brave, he would have rushed up in a single breath. Yi Tianyun passed through the Divine Wind Valley as if he was taking a stroll. It might be difficult for others, but it wasn't difficult for him. As long as he could stabilize his lower body, it wouldn't be difficult at all. What was being tested here was the stability of one's lower body, which had a great influence on the battle. If he fell to the ground easily when attacked, it would undoubtedly be fatal. It wasn't just flying. When attacked in the air, there would also be problems. The moment he lost his balance would be the moment of death. I finally made it. If I didn't use up too much astral power, I wouldn't have made a fool of myself. Murong Zhao turned to look at Yi Tianyun with a dissatisfied expression. She was very dissatisfied with herself. I was very confident about it, but I failed. Isn't this a slap in the face? Just be more careful in the future. Yi Tianyun looked up, and what he saw was a huge arena, forming a circular arc, wrapping a large circle. There was a tunnel in front of them that led to the entrance, and there were many guards standing at the side, looking at them fiercely. Right in front of them was the end of the first round, the deities' battleground. After so many battles, they finally reached the end of the first round. So this is the end after climbing the Divine Wind Valley. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, let's go in. Murong Zhao nodded, her beautiful eyes filled with excitement. She couldn't help but feel excited when she thought about meeting the real geniuses. After all, they would only meet the powerful geniuses who passed the first round of selection. Those who passed the first round could only be ordinary geniuses. As they walked into the magnificent deities' battleground, they passed through a long corridor and finally stepped into a vast arena. When they looked up, they saw groups of experts sitting in their seats and discussing. It could be said that they were densely packed with heaven monarchs, and there were countless earth monarchs. These were the elders from the various god realms who came to watch the competition. In the next round, so many big shots would be watching here. However, the real big shots didn't come. Yi Tianyun saw many empty seats in front of them. These were the seats for the second-grade god realms. As for who they would send, they didn't know. Maybe they would send elders or maybe territorial lords. However, it was really nerve-wracking to be watched by so many powerful figures. It's Tianyun and the others. They passed. When Nian Xiu saw the figures at the entrance, she immediately became excited. This meant that their people had passed the first round. Especially the token that Yi Tianyun obtained. He looked down on all the heroes and firmly secured first place. Yes, they all passed. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord was very excited and relaxed a little. They were afraid that there would be an accident along the way. If they lost, then everything would be over. What 8,000 tokens? It would only be a waste of time, without any meaning at all. Tianyun and the others also noticed Nian Xiu and the others. They also saw their names on the virtual image in the air. Big brother Tianyun, you are first. Even the second-place Heaven Pillar and Earthly Lord are not as good as you. You are really amazing. Murong Zhao was very excited as if she was the first place. First place? Yi Tianyun smiled slightly. There was no pride in his eyes. Only when they really competed would they know who was better. He wanted to prove to all the powerful figures that the human race was not the weakest race, but a race full of potential. Rong are also passed. A middle-aged man on the side was very satisfied when he saw Murong Zhao. He was Murong Zhao's father, Murong Hua. We said that the eldest lady would definitely get a good result. She did not disappoint us. The elders on the side all praised and felt that Murong Zhao had amazing potential. Chapter 1003. Yi Tianyun and Murong Zhao's appearance attracted a lot of people's attention, especially the contestants who arrived here before. They all looked at them. Junior Marshal Sister Rong, Who is he? At this time, a handsome youth appeared in front of them. He was dressed in white and had a long sword on his back. He looked very immortal. He was Murong Zhao's pursuer, Ling Yunfeng. People usually called him Young Master Ling, and Yu Qingling had a good impression of him. However, Ling Yunfeng only liked Murong Zhao, and she had no chance at all. Don't call me Rong, we aren't that close. Murong Zhao frowned. She felt very uncomfortable with Ling Yunfeng calling her that. Junior martial sister Rong, you are messing around again. We are from the same sect. Ling Yunfeng was full of helplessness. He looked at her and said with dissatisfaction, I have been looking for you for so long down there, but I couldn't find you. So you were with someone else. No wonder I couldn't find you. Friend, how should I address you? Ling Yunfeng didn't start scolding right away. Instead, he cupped his hands and was very polite. Yi Tianyun sized him up. He looked like a handsome man, and his cultivation wasn't low either. They were both 7th refinement Earth monarchs. In this place, 5th or 6th refinement Earth monarchs and above were too common. If one didn't have 6th or 7th refinement Earth monarchs, they would be embarrassed to greet him. Heavenly Cloud Earth Monarch. Yi Tianyun didn't hide and introduced himself. Heavenly Cloud Earth Monarch. Ling Yunfeng's eyes shot out a ray of light. He sized him up and said in shock, I was just about to say what Heavenly Cloud Earth Monarch is like. I didn't expect him to be so young. I believe that junior martial sister Rong was able to reach here mainly because of Heavenly Cloud Earth Monarch. That is her own ability, and it has nothing to do with me. Yi Tianyun was a little confused. Logically speaking, shouldn't the other party treat him as a love rival? Why wasn't he angry? His temper was still so good. No matter what, I am shocked to see her in person. To tell you the truth, Earth Lord Tianyun, I want to be her Dao companion, and I hope Earth Lord Tianyun can fulfill my wish. Ling Yunfeng was very straightforward and very respectful. Yi Tianyun almost vomited blood. This was the first time he had seen someone dissuade someone with such etiquette. It was not a fist fight, but a dissuasion filled with etiquette. Senior brother Ling, I will never become Dao companions with you. Murong Zhao was furious. She pointed at him and said, You're not my type. You're so inflexible, just like a stubborn old man. Your Ling family has nurtured you into a genius, but in other aspects, you are simply too lacking. How could that be? Didn't junior sister Rong say that as long as my talent and cultivation surpass yours, I can become your Dao companion? Ling Yunfeng frowned and said doubtfully, I should be able to do it. Furthermore, I'm preparing to break through to the 8th refinement Earth Monarch. I should be able to meet junior sister Ronger's standards, right? You are so unreasonable. I don't even like you. It's useless if you meet my requirements. Murong Zhao was about to explode. You don't like me? Then after we become Dao companions, you will slowly fall in love with me. I'll bring you to a good place to cultivate, give you all my treasures, and go into seclusion with you. Yi Tianyun was on the verge of cramping up. This guy's EQ was too low. It was as if his head had been kicked by a donkey. What was even more frightening was that when he said it out calmly, he did not even know what it meant to refuse, what it meant to be humiliated. Just give up. I'm already with Big Brother Tianyun. You should just give up. Murong Zhao grabbed Yi Tianyun's arm and transmitted his voice to him. Brother Tianyun, you must help me. If I become Dao companions with this guy, I will definitely go crazy. It's not interesting at all, just like those teachers. Ling Yunfeng was startled. He looked at Yi Tianyun and bowed. I hope Earth Lord Tianyun can fulfill my wish. My father said that junior martial sister Rong and I are the most suitable. If Earth Lord Tianyun chooses to give up, I am willing to give you the best treasures. I hope Earth Lord Tianyun will give up. What a gentleman. Yi Tianyun looked at him and did not know what to say. Everything was too polite. He did not get angry, nor did he use vulgar words. He was completely like a gentleman, speaking of his needs. It felt like he would say, please don't hit me, after slapping him. What if I say no? Yi Tianyun thought for a while and chose to persuade him. If you don't agree, I can only work harder to defeat you with greater strength and win junior martial sister Rong's heart. If I steal Junior Marshal Sister Rong, I hope Earth Lord Tianyun won't blame me. Ling Yunfeng still did not get angry, nor did he provoke him. He just wanted to steal Junior Marshal Sister Rong, in front of Tianyun. Tianyun did not know what to say. This was definitely the first time he met such a weirdo. If it was someone else, he would have pointed at his nose and scolded him, or if he did not leave Murong Shao, he would die without a burial place. Ling Yunfeng did not act like this at all. He maintained his gentlemanly demeanor from the beginning to the end. It was just that in his opinion, the more violent ones were better. See? I wonder if this guy is stupid. His brain is made of rotten wood. He can't understand anything. I wonder if his family has instilled too many things into his head. He doesn't have any opinions. Murong Shao said helplessly. No opinions? Tianyun was confused. Yes, he definitely doesn't like me. He listens to his family. No matter what he does, he follows their orders. Murong Shao was very helpless. Such a weirdo exists? Tianyun was speechless. You are Earth Lord Tianyun? At this time, a man walked over and looked him up and down with cold eyes full of fighting spirit. What's the problem? Tianyun looked at him. You don't look like much. You are a human. How could your divine war thunder drum reach the 9th rank? Earth Lord Cloud Thunder looked at him coldly. I highly suspect that you cheated. Otherwise, how could a mere human reach this level? Earth Lord Cloud Thunder was ranked 2nd. He was suddenly pushed down to 3rd place. In fact, 3rd place was already very good, but he could not believe that a human was riding on top of them. This was unacceptable. Tianyun looked at him up and down, then shrugged his shoulders and said, This is finally a normal guy. Look at him, this is a normal guy, okay? Ling Yunfeng looked at Earth Lord Cloud Thunder in confusion. He did not understand what Tianyun meant. Chapter 1004. Hearing Tianyun's question, Earth Lord Cloud Thunder was stunned. How did he cheat? It couldn't be 2 people attacking each other. It could only be 1 person attacking. If 2 people attacked each other, it would be against the rules, and they would be immediately identified. At that time, they would be considered to have failed. You must have cheated. Earth Lord Cloud Thunder was at a loss for words and didn't know how to refute. In his opinion, the human race must have cheated to be able to climb to such a high peak. Not only Earth Lord Cloud Thunder, but the other contestants also thought so. There were so many contestants present, but only Tianyun was a human. It was enough to show how weak the human race was. It was impossible for them to reach this level. Oh, if I really cheated, are you doubting the rule formation set up by the God Realms? Do you think their rules are so weak that I can easily break them by cheating? Tianyun looked at Earth Lord Cloud Thunder mockingly and said with a smile, It seems that I'm so strong that I can break their rules and easily reach the 9th rank. Is it because I'm too strong, or because the seniors are too useless? Tianyun slammed a hat on Earth Lord Cloud Thunder's head. If Earth Lord Cloud Thunder admitted it, it would mean that the rules set up by several powerful figures of the God Realms had been broken by a single human. So many people couldn't break it, but he could. Wouldn't that mean that the powerful figures of the God Realms were useless? Earth Lord Cloud Thunder's face turned pale. He had never thought about this at all. He just kept accusing Tianyun of cheating to achieve his results. Now that Tianyun had turned the tables on him, he was so embarrassed that he didn't know what to say. The other contestants originally wanted to interject, but now they didn't know what to say. If they said that Tianyun had cheated, then they would be saying that the seniors were too weak. But if they didn't say anything, wouldn't that mean that Tianyun really had such strength? This kid is really eloquent. He can infer many things from one instance. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord smiled. He was very appreciative of Tianyun's words. It was best not to get angry. That was the most important thing. There was no point in getting angry here. The key was that they could not fight, so there was nothing to get angry about. It would affect the mood of the competition. That's true. This brat is very clever. He won't be at a disadvantage. Nian Ciyu also laughed. They didn't continue to say anything. The stage was theirs, and the rest of the audience couldn't interfere. They couldn't even get off the stage. They could only watch from above. Even if their own disciples were prepared to die, they still couldn't go down. If they wanted to save him, there would be others who would save him. As for the others, they absolutely could not interfere. Once they did so, they would be disqualified from the entire God domain. Otherwise, if someone were to rush down to save his disciple when his disciple was about to die, it would be against the rules. This kind of situation absolutely could not happen, so whoever did that would be kicked out. Moreover, this competition was not inhumane. As long as the other party surrendered, they could not continue fighting. If he stubbornly refused to surrender, what else could he do? Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder snorted and said coldly, "I don't care what you do, but I hope you don't run into me." After saying that, Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder waved his hand and walked to the side. He didn't want to stay here any longer. He didn't want Tianyun to say anything else. If he were to put a big hat on him, he would be in trouble. Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder, "I'm sorry, but he's already mine," Ling Yunfeng suddenly said. Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder turned his head and looked at him like he was an idiot. Then he shook his head. "What a retard. I can't be bothered to talk to you." Tianyun shrugged his shoulders, feeling very helpless. The rest of the contestants glanced over, but they didn't say anything. Among them, there was a substantial gaze that stared at him. Tianyun followed the gaze. The first thing that came into view was an extremely beautiful woman. She was dressed in red, and there were several flames floating around her body. The scorching heat waves spread out in all directions. She sized up Tianyun for a moment. Her eyes were very indifferent and somewhat empty, as if she didn't care about anything. Or in other words, everything was meaningless to her. Then she closed her eyes again. She didn't say a word, nor did she do anything. The other contestants didn't approach her. They were even a little afraid of her. Heavenly Pillar? Tianyun was stunned. The opponent's name appeared in front of him with the appraisal eye. He didn't expect the first one to be a woman. This was really beyond his expectation. He thought it would be an overbearing strong man, but it turned out to be a woman. That's right. She's Heavenly Pillar, the terrifying woman ranked below you. Murong Xiao shook his head. His eyes were full of fear. She controls a kind of holy fire that can burn the heaven and earth. Her cultivation has reached the level of the 8th refinement Earth Lord. Rumor has it that she almost broke through to the level of the 9th refinement Earth Lord. Holy fire? Tianyun squinted at Heavenly Pillar. Such a masculine name, but she's a woman. Of course, this was just a title. No one knew her real name. In the deity realm, the rarity of flames was divided into two categories: demonic fire and holy fire. There were only 5 kinds of holy fire. Needless to say, the power of these flames was above all the other demonic fires. Having a holy fire was like adding wings to a tiger. However, it was extremely difficult to subdue a holy fire. No one knew how Heavenly Pillar did it. It's a bit strange. Tianyun looked at Heavenly Pillar up and down. Even with the appraisal eye, the data presented was very limited. He had a special feeling that Heavenly Pillar was very terrifying. There seemed to be a special energy in her body. As for how powerful it was not easy to say. He felt that the other contestants were not even half as powerful as her, or even less. Her terrifying power was far beyond the reach of others. Of course, there were still many contestants who hadn't arrived yet. As for whether the others were strong or not, they would have to wait and see. Immediately, they found a place to meditate and recover, waiting for the start of the second round. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was almost the end. The time provided for the first round was not long, only 1 month. Those who couldn't reach the finish line in 1 month would be judged to be eliminated. 1 month is up. Those who haven't reached the finish line will have their previous results nullified. They will be eliminated at the same time. At this time, a deacon announced on the side. His voice spread out and eventually spread to the entire godly war continent. Those who didn't reach the finish line were teleported out. When Tianyun opened his eyes, he saw a lot of contestants, a lot more than when he first came up. Among them, Yu Qingling and the others had come up, proving that they had some strength. Chapter 1005. Yi Tianyun glanced around. There were less than 1,000 people left on the ground. From the initial hundreds of thousands of participants, there were less than 1,000 people left. It was enough to show how terrifying the difficulty was. More than half of them had been eliminated in the initial slaughter. It had to be said that it was too cruel. Any one of them would be a godlike existence in Fanyu. Here, they were like cabbages that could be found in large bunches. Elimination was very common. This was the survival of the fittest. Even Earth monarchs would be divided into good and bad. There were 2 or 3 refinement Earth monarchs present. This proved that their cultivation wasn't high, but it didn't mean that they were weak. Cultivation was just a superficial estimate. As for how strong they were, it would be known when they fought. What a cruel competition. Yi Tianyun shook his head. If they wanted to ascend to the heavens, they had to trample on a large number of opponents. A pile of losers was their stepping stone, a pile of stepping stones to the top. Yes, it is indeed cruel. Murong Xiao nodded. He had a deep feeling about this place. If they were slightly weaker, they would also be reduced to stepping stones. Great waves wash away sand. Whether one can stand firm here or not depends on one's own strength. Ling Yunfeng opened his eyes and said slowly, "What are you doing here? Hurry up and leave." Murong Xiao felt that he was an eyesore. He was here to make trouble. At this moment, a familiar person walked over and hugged Ling Yunfeng's arm. She said in a sweet voice, "Young Master Ling, why don't you come with me? It's really unlucky to stay here." The person who came over was Yu Qingling. She hugged Ling Yunfeng as soon as she arrived. She was really bold. Ling Yunfeng frowned. He shook his arm and broke free. "Lady Yu, men and women should not touch each other. Please don't do this." Ling Yunfeng had a righteous expression. He wasn't moved by these things at all. Yu Qingling's charm skills were obviously not bad, but it was useless against him. It made her go crazy. "Oh right, young Master Ling and the 2 of them are already together. Previously, I even saw the 2 of them kissing each other. Maybe they've already done it." Yu Qingling covered her mouth and chuckled lightly. She even said some slanderous words. Nonsense. Murong Xiao was about to explode in anger. She had teamed up with Tianyun, yet she was being slandered like this. Yu Qingling wanted to see anger on Ling Yunfeng's face, but she was quickly disappointed. Ling Yunfeng was not disappointed or angry at all, and he maintained a calm expression. "I will snatch junior sister Rong Er from the hands of Earth Monarch Tianyun," Ling Yunfeng said in a serious manner. On the side, Yi Tianyun almost vomited blood. He also thought that Yu Qingling's slander would attract hatred for him. Obviously, he was thinking too much. Ling Yunfeng didn't care about this kind of thing at all. Yu Qingling was also speechless. Her beautiful eyes were filled with displeasure as she looked at Ling Yunfeng. There was no way to change this rotten wood. "Ahem, Brother Ling, do you really like Miss Mu?" Yi Tianyun asked seriously, "Is it your family that ordered you to do this? Or do you really like Miss Mu, that's why you did this?" "This." Ling Yunfeng frowned and thought about it carefully. "Actually, my family told me to do this. They said that it would help with my cultivation." "So you're saying that you don't like Miss Mu at all? That's why you became Dao companions with her?" Yi Tianyun continued to ask. "That's right." Ling Yunfeng answered truthfully, "But junior sister Rong Er is still very good. She's kind, so there's nothing bad about becoming Dao companions." "Brother Ling, tell me the truth. Did you listen to your family's orders to pursue Miss Mu for the sake of cultivation?" Yi Tianyun asked again. "That's right. It's because of this that I decided to pursue junior sister Rong Er." Ling Yunfeng replied in a serious manner. "A cultivation maniac." Murong Xiao was speechless. He was just a cultivation tool? "Ahem, Brother Ling, listen to me. Even if you become Dao companions with Miss Mu, it won't help your cultivation much. Her body doesn't really suit you. You need someone with the ice attribute. That would suit you better," Yi Tianyun suggested. "But my family asked me to." Ling Yunfeng was conflicted. "You don't have to care about them. Deep down, you just want to achieve Dao. You don't want to care about anything else, right? Tianyun already knew what was going on. Yes. Ling Yunfeng shook his head. I really don't want to care about anything else. Obviously, lust was bullshit. He was a cultivation maniac who only wanted to achieve Dao. Come here, I have an idea. Tianyun pulled Ling Yunfeng over and whispered a bunch of things to him. Ling Yunfeng's eyes lit up. Okay, I'll listen to brother. Actually, I've been very troubled. If I become Dao companions with junior sister Rong, I won't have time to cultivate. Now that I've heard brother Yi's words, I'm really enlightened. Ling Yunfeng smiled and came in front of Murong Xiao. Junior sister Rong, I won't become Dao companions with you. I actually don't have much interest in you. I just want to achieve Dao. Murong Xiao's face twitched. She had always wanted to get rid of him. Now that Ling Yunfeng said that, it was like a slap to her face. After saying that, Ling Yunfeng turned around and left. He returned to his Ling family's camp. Yu Qingling was dumbfounded. She thought that she could create some conflict. Who knew that it wouldn't be of any use? Idiot, no woman will like him in this life. Yu Qingling glared at Murong Xiao fiercely, turned around and left. It's settled. Now that Ling Yunfeng won't pester you anymore, right? Tianyun laughed. Tell me, how should you thank me? He didn't expect the matter to be resolved so quickly. He originally thought that it was an enemy, but who knew that it was a cultivation maniac with a pure heart that only wanted to cultivate? Quickly tell me, what exactly did you say to him? He immediately chose to give up on me? Murong Xiao was extremely shocked. She had rejected him many times, but none of them succeeded. It's very simple. I told him that the family wanted him to marry you because they wanted him to raise his cultivation. In fact, it didn't have much effect, so I told him to participate in the competition properly. After the competition, he would find a place to cultivate in seclusion and break through to the 8 or 9 refinement Earthlord. Tianyun explained. What do you mean by that? Murong Xiao was dumbfounded. The best way to deal with this kind of cultivation maniac is to let them continue cultivating. That way, they won't have time to care about you. Tianyun shrugged his shoulders. Murong Xiao rolled her eyes. I don't believe it. How could it be that simple? Chapter 1006. Many participants stayed in the deity battle arena to recover and wait for the next round to begin. For this reason, they all took various medicinal pills to heal their injuries and quickly recovered. It didn't take long for an uproar to come from the front. The first to appear were 5 peak experts. They tore the space in the air and sat directly on the highest seats. As soon as they sat down, a majestic aura was released and spread around. Under this majestic aura, the audience immediately quieted down. These 5 are the representatives of the divine realm battle to heaven. They are the elders. They are not the real owners of the divine realm. They don't need to be there in person. The divine realm battle to heaven is not a big deal for them. It is just a normal selection of disciples. There is no need to come in person. It is already quite amazing that they came in person. All 5 of them are divine monarch cultivators. There is a difference in their cultivation. However, just by sitting there, they already made everyone feel pressured. This is the power of divine monarch. Tianyun looked up. The appraisal eye can't show the combat power. At most it can show how high the cultivation is. Nothing else can be seen. Obviously, the current stage of the appraisal eye can only see the cultivation level below divine monarch. Upgrade appraisal eye. Without hesitation, Tianyun immediately chose to upgrade appraisal eye. This is very important data. He must upgrade it. Ding! Successfully deducted 50 million crazy points. Upgrade appraisal eye to level 5. The next level requires 5 billion crazy points. Appraisal eye, start to upgrade data. After upgrading the data, Tianyun looked over there, and the new data appeared in front of him. Divine Wrath Elder, 5th level divine monarch, has the power of heavenly thunder, can release terrible heavenly thunder to destroy heaven and earth. The heavenly thunder divine power in the body can also turn oneself into an immortal body, can resist terrible power. Weakness, no obvious weakness. Comprehensive combat power, 9. 7 million star power. East Dragon Elder, 6th level Divine Monarch, has a very strong East Dragon bloodline, can turn into a huge East Dragon, spit out destructive energy bomb, has terrible defense, can resist all attacks. Weakness, extreme metal attack, can break defense. Overall combat power was 11. 3 million star power. Elder G Fan, level 5 Divine Lord. He has the power of destruction and can destroy everything he sees. Weakness, extreme life force, able to resist the power of destruction. Overall combat power was 10. 3 million points of star power. Elder Lu Yu. At the 5th level Divine Lord level, he possesses a vast power of earth. He can easily overturn mountains and seas and can stack up a world. Weakness, power of wood, can be countered. Overall combat power was 9. 5 million points of star power. Elder Go Huang, 6th level Divine Monarch. He possesses the power of divine gold and is indestructible. He can pierce through a giant planet with a flip of his hand. Weakness, power of fire. Overall combat power was 12. 5 million star power. The information of the 5 elders appeared in front of him, including the things they were wearing. It was just that Tianyun had filtered out their equipment. He was simply observing their combat abilities. Each of them had reached 10 million points of star power, and that was just ordinary power. If they were to burst out, it would be tens of millions of star power points. The cultivation of a divine lord is indeed terrifying. Tianyun looked at the data on their bodies. No wonder a divine monarch expert could crush a large number of experts. This could easily crush any first-grade region lord. And this was just one elder. The other divine lords hadn't appeared yet. If it was their overall strength, it would definitely be shocking. A few divine lords would be able to crush all the low-level powerhouses. As soon as the 5 of them appeared, the powerhouses sitting at the side all stood up. "Greetings, lords." A deafening voice sounded. All of them looked at the powerhouses above them respectfully. How could they not be respectful when facing powerhouses? The 5 elders nodded in satisfaction. Powerhouses from their own camp also appeared behind them. All of them were at the level of the Lord of Heaven. Soon, the seats at the back were filled. There were at least 34 people, and each of them had brought 5 or 6 subordinates. It's time again. We've seen your situation. The current situation is somewhat out of our expectations. This time, there's someone in the Divine Thunderdrum area who achieved a 9th grade level. He's also the only one who has reached this level. This result hasn't appeared for a long time. The one who spoke was Elder Go Huang. He was in the middle. Without a doubt, his position was the highest. The god territory he belonged to was definitely the strongest. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the leader. Tianyun's eyes lit up. He immediately grasped these words. It had appeared in the past, but it hadn't appeared recently. There were indeed many crouching tigers and hidden dragons. This performance was not bad for them, but it wasn't a pleasant surprise. The 5 of them were expressionless. They didn't show any special appreciation. Next, prepare for the second round of the competition. Before that, according to the previous rules, the first round will begin. Before that, according to the previous rules, those who reach a certain standard will receive the corresponding reward. Elder Go Huang swept his gaze across the contestants. With a wave of his hand, a huge temple descended from the sky and landed heavily on the empty ground. Boom! The temple landed heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Those who reach the standard will receive the corresponding reward. You can go in and exchange the token. However, it doesn't include the token obtained from the Divine Thunderdrum. Additional tokens can be exchanged in the temple. Elder Go Huang gestured for them to enter. Elder Go Huang's intention was clear. He wanted to focus on the number of tokens and not on the Divine Thunderdrum. In this way, Tianyun only had a few hundred tokens. Of course, this was already the highest reward. The token obtained from the Divine Thunderdrum could be exchanged in the temple. As soon as he finished his words, groups of people rushed in. Tianyun followed them in. After entering, he saw a dazzling array of treasures. Of course, The highest grade was the high-grade reincarnation level treasures. There were many of them here and they filled up rows after rows. However, the price was even more shocking. If one didn't meet the initial conditions, he would need at least 1,000 tokens. The better ones would need at least a few thousand tokens. Among the contestants, there were less than a dozen of them who could meet the initial conditions. After all, those who could obtain around 200 tokens were the minority. Some of them only had dozens or 100 tokens. Chapter 1007. High-grade reincarnation grade treasures can be found everywhere here. Tianyun shook his head. This was the strength of a grade 2 god realm. Treasures that were rarely seen in grade 1 god realms could be found everywhere here. Of course, they were expensive. Unless one obtained a good result on the divine battle thunder drum, it would be difficult to exchange for a good weapon here. In his opinion, there were less than 50 people who could exchange for high-grade reincarnation grade treasures. Of course, there might be even fewer of them. Not everyone could achieve excellent results. Here, a high-grade reincarnation grade treasure or martial technique would require more than 1,000 tokens. This meant that one had to obtain at least 3 results of grade 6 or 7. Combined with the tokens they had obtained previously, only then could they meet the standard. As for better treasures, they would need to obtain at least a few results of grade 8 and above. Or they could snatch tokens from thousands of people. That way, they could also exchange. It was difficult for one person to snatch a few thousand tokens. The main reason was that there were too many scattered cultivators, so it was not easy to find them. Of course, if one could snatch more than 200 tokens from the start, they could directly choose one. Under such circumstances, the number of people who met the standard increased, but it would definitely not exceed 100. Without hesitation, Tianyun headed towards the high-grade reincarnation grade treasures area. He had met the standard, so he would definitely choose this area. Even if he did not meet the standard, the 7,000 tokens he obtained from the Divine Battle Thunder Drum were enough to exchange for more high-grade reincarnation grade treasures. I just happened to lack some special treasures. Tianyun quickly set his sights on a treasure that caught his eye, the Sanskrit Divine Brush. Right now, he needed to improve his divine inscriber skills. He wanted to transform the 3 realms and strengthen his equipment. The divine inscriptions he had learned previously had no effect on the equipment he obtained from the lottery draw. Not every equipment could be engraved with divine inscriptions. Otherwise, his equipment would have long exploded. When he reached the god realm, the divine inscriptions here could be engraved on his equipment. For example, it could be engraved on the Ancient Desolate Equipment set or the Evil Devil Divine Equipment set. As for how effective it would be, he would only know after engraving it. Just as he was about to pick up the Sanskrit Divine Brush, a domineering voice rang in his ears. Put down the divine Sanskrit brush. Tianyun turned his head and saw a contestant with snake eyes walking towards him. His entire body was shrouded in evil energy, especially his snake eyes, which looked extremely evil. She stared at him as if she was staring at a prey. Tianyun couldn't be bothered with him. He used the first 190 tokens to exchange for the superior grade reincarnation grade treasure. This meant that he no longer had the chance to exchange for the treasures. The remaining treasures would have to be exchanged at the original price. Of course, this thing was very useful to him, so he naturally wouldn't let it go. Are you ignoring my words? Demon Eye Earth Monarch charged in front of him. He glared at him and roared, "Take it out, I have my eyes on it." So what if you like it? As long as it's not in your hands first, then it's my choice. Tianyun retorted mercilessly. Demon Eye Earth Monarch really wanted to attack Tianyun, but he didn't dare to. It was forbidden to attack here. Once he did, he would be disqualified from the competition. If there's nothing else, please make way. Don't stop me from choosing other treasures. Tianyun naturally wouldn't only choose one treasure. The greatest use of these tokens was to exchange for treasures. It could be said that these were the rewards given by the elders. Even if they couldn't pass the later stages, just the treasures exchanged here were enough for them to make good use of when they returned. They would strive to be able to participate again in the next competition. You human brat, you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Don't think that you're the strongest just because you got the first token. If we use all our strength, do you think we can't get a rank 9? Demon Eye Earth Monarch's tone was full of disdain, as if they could get a rank 9 if they wanted to. Their argument attracted the attention of the surrounding contestants, but they all agreed with Demon Eye Earth Monarch's words. If they really wanted to go all out, a rank 9 was not a problem, but it would expose their strength, and that was not worth it. They hadn't seen Yi Tianyun's performance before, so they unanimously thought that Yi Tianyun used all his strength and went all out to get this result. To them, going all out to get this result was not very strong. They had all heard of Yi Tianyun's situation. After all, some people saw Yi Tianyun's performance and thought that he used all his strength, so they could roughly estimate his strength level. Oh, that's your business. If you can't get it, then you can't. Don't talk to me about other things. Yi Tianyun looked at him coldly and said, "Get out of my way, you're blocking me from choosing treasures. If you don't move, I'll tell the seniors that you're obstructing me." Demon Eye Earth Monarch's gaze was icy to the extreme, and the guards at the gate were alarmed, wanting to come over to investigate. Good. Just you wait, when the time comes, you'll know that you're a frog at the bottom of a well. You think that you can be complacent just because you got some results, but you're actually a fart. I hope you don't meet me, or else you'll know that participating in this competition is a mistake. Demon Eye Earth Monarch could only move aside obediently, so that Yi Tianyun could walk out from here. If those guards were alarmed, he would have to bear the consequences. Is that so? Then I'd like to see how you're going to make me a frog at the bottom of a well. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly, not taking it to heart at all, and turned around to choose treasures in other areas. Demon Eye Earth Monarch gritted his teeth and looked at him. He couldn't fight here, so he could only turn around to choose treasures. The other contestants shook their heads, feeling that Yi Tianyun was really courting death. He had just arrived, and immediately provoked so many opponents. Not only Earth Monarch Lei Yun, but also Demon Eye Earth Monarch. Wasn't he courting death? Brother Yi, are you alright? That Demon Eye Earth Monarch is ranked in the top 8, and I heard that he's very powerful. Ling Yunfeng came over and asked. If that's the case, if I give the treasure to him, will he admit defeat when he meets me? Yi Tianyun asked. I don't think that'll happen. Ling Yunfeng said. Isn't that right? Since he won't let me go, why should I give it to him? Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders and said, in this life, I've had many enemies, but every one of them has become a skeleton for me to succeed, and he's no exception. Ling Yunfeng looked at Yi Tianyun in shock. He didn't expect Yi Tianyun to say such domineering words. Chapter 1008. Ling Yunfeng admired Yi Tianyun's courage and insight. If it was him, he wouldn't have dared to do so. After all, after provoking the other party, as soon as the battle started, Ling Yunfeng didn't hesitate to attack with all his strength and wouldn't stop until he killed the other party. Just this point alone was enough to scare people. Ling Yunfeng knew his own strength, so he wouldn't casually provoke others. Coward! At this moment, Murong Xiao stood out and glanced at Ling Yunfeng. Big brother Tianyun will definitely win. If he loses to the other party in terms of momentum, then he will really lose. Murong Xiao had always been fearless, even when she was besieged and poisoned. She didn't want to admit defeat and even killed several people consecutively. This boldness already explained a lot. Although she was the daughter of a clan, she didn't have that kind of situation. When it was time to kill, she was still ruthless. It was just that she was too kind, otherwise she wouldn't have been poisoned. Because she was kind, as long as the other party surrendered, she would let the other party go. Who knew that the other party would use poison, otherwise she wouldn't have been poisoned. After being scolded by Murong Xiao, Ling Yunfeng pondered for a while and said, Junior sister Rong is right. This is because my Dao heart isn't stable enough. I will strengthen it in the future. Ling Yunfeng was quite modest. If it was someone else, they would have already been angry, but he still maintained a calm state of mind. This made Yi Tianyun feel very praiseworthy. He felt that Ling Yunfeng would definitely achieve great things in the future. Just this calm state of mind alone was already better than many people. Immediately after, Yi Tianyun continued to choose treasures. He chose a high-grade reincarnation-grade alchemy furnace in one go, and he also chose some divine seal carving methods. 7,000 tokens were used up in the blink of an eye. It wasn't easy to earn them, but it was too easy to spend them. After he finished choosing, most of the others had also finished choosing. Some didn't have so many tokens, so they didn't need to consider for too long. They could come out immediately. Some could only choose some elixir pills, and they could only come out obediently. Yi Tianyun, on the other hand, was quite satisfied with the amount he exchanged. As soon as he came out, he felt the venomous gaze of the demon eye earth monarch staring at him. His eyes were filled with dense killing intent, as though he wanted to chop him into two. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with him. He lifted his foot and walked forward, arriving at his faction's area. There were contestants from their faction here, but there were only a few of them left. From the initial few hundred, there were less than 10. Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao were included, and Sikong Ma and Yuan Tianyu, as well as some talented core disciples. It was not only the heavenly mandate divine realm that was the case, it was the same for the other divine realms. Most of them had been eliminated. Of course, there were some divine realms that were an exception. There were a few divine realms that had a considerable number of disciples remaining, at most 40 to 50. It had to be said that these divine realms were strong enough, otherwise there would not be so many left. Yi Tianyun recognized a few of these powerful divine realms. They were Earth Lord Tianqing and Earth Lord Yunlei, as well as the Demon Eye Earth Monarch. The three of them were in extremely strong camps, and the remaining people could account for half of the total number of people. It was enough to show that these three camps were the strongest. The rest were scattered, and there was not even one of them. At this time, Yi Tianyun turned his eyes to one of them. He stared at him. The aura of the evil spirit clan? He felt that the black-robed contestant not far away actually had the aura of the evil spirit clan, but he was not very sure. When he took out the essence blood of the evil spirit clan from the storage ring, there was no reaction at all. Is it not the evil spirit clan? Yi Tianyun looked him up and down. At the same time, he opened the appraisal eye, trying to see through the true nature of the other party. Earth Lord Special Gu, Earth Lord of the Seventh Refinement, has the bloodline of the evil spirit clan, very thin. It was very simple and clear information. He did not need to read the rest of the information. It was enough to know the first sentence. This Earth Lord Special Gu was really from the evil spirit clan, or rather, he had the bloodline of the evil spirit clan. He did not expect the evil spirit clan to sneak in, but it was hard to say whether it was sent by the evil spirit clan. In short, he was the only one in the camp that Earth Lord Special Gu was in. According to the rankings, Earth Lord Special G's ranking was not very high. He was only in the 80s. This ranking was not bad, but it was definitely not eye-catching. It did not match his cultivation. He had already reached the Earth Lord of the Seventh Refinement. How could he be weak? In Yi Tianyun's opinion, he should be at least in the 30s. This was more reasonable. Either his strength was really weak, or he was deliberately hiding his strength. Yi Tianyun believed that it was the latter, which meant that he was deliberately hiding his strength. Acting low-key was undoubtedly very suitable for the evil spirit clan who came here alone. Miss Mu, do you know about the evil spirit clan? Yi Tianyun asked. Evil spirit clan? I know, a very evil race. Murong Xiao immediately revealed a disgusted expression. What if they come to participate? Yi Tianyun continued to ask. They still dare to come to participate. If they are discovered, they will definitely die without a complete corpse. Could it be that there is an evil spirit clan among the participants? Murong Xiao covered her mouth in surprise. She turned her head and looked around, but she could not tell which one was the evil spirit clan. It's that black-robed one. He's the evil spirit clan. Yi Tianyun frowned and said, but his bloodline is rather thin. Even if I say it, no one will believe me, right? He could see it, but it did not mean that others could. He had even taken out his blood essence, but he was unable to detect it. This meant that it was hidden very deeply. If he could not see through it and said it again, he might be accused of slandering others. No way, I can't feel it at all. Murong Xiao shook his head. It's fine as long as you know. Remember to be wary of him. I don't know what they are planning, but as long as they have the slightest trace of the evil spirit clan's bloodline, it will be very easy for them to go wrong. He had seen the sins of the evil spirit clan. Although he did not dare to say that all those who possessed the bloodline of the evil spirit clan were bad, those who dared to appear here were basically not good people. All right. Murong Xiao nodded. She did not doubt Yi Tianyun's words and directly treated him as the evil spirit clan. She also knew what Yi Tianyun meant. If she reported it, she would be punished here if she did not have sufficient evidence. After all, it would be seen as improper methods, and it was not allowed in this competition. Yi Tianyun looked at Lord Tej, and Lord Tej seemed to feel Yi Tianyun looking at him, so he raised his head and looked at him. Chapter 1009. Very quickly, everyone came out of the deity palace. Elder Go Huang put the deity palace away. Everyone had exchanged for something good, and their faces were filled with pride. There were many good treasures in this temple, which were much better than in their god domain. Of course, they were very happy. Even if they lost, they were satisfied. After all, they had obtained many good things. I can see that you are all very satisfied. Elder Go Huang looked at them and smiled. Some of you have the opportunity to become disciples of our 5 god domains. As for those who haven't reached the standard yet, this test will bring you benefits. Elder Go Huang was rather gentle and didn't put on too much airs. After all, there was no lack of outstanding geniuses, and some were even stronger than native god domain experts. Of course, there were many native god domain experts among the participants, which made up more than half of them. It could only be said that those who were born here had an extraordinary starting point from a young age. Everyone listened attentively to Elder Go Huang's words, not missing a single word. Now, let's proceed to the second stage, God Tribulation. Elder Go Huang slowly explained the content of the next stage. God Tribulation? When the Earth monarchs heard this, their bodies shivered, which reminded them of the heaven tribulation they had experienced. The difficulty was extremely high, and if they didn't succeed, the result would be death. Now, they had to undergo heaven tribulation? Wasn't this sending them to their deaths? Their cultivation hadn't been completely stabilized, and triggering the heaven tribulation was courting death. Don't be nervous. We are not asking you to trigger some heaven tribulation, but we will release a test similar to the heaven tribulation. Elder Go Huang looked at them and said, "This is a kind of training for you to undergo heaven tribulation in the future. It will be helpful to you. The difficulty will increase gradually, just like the divine battle thunder drum, which has 9 levels. The passing line is the 5th level, and those below the 5th level will be eliminated. Beyond the 5th level, the higher you go, the more rewards you will get. Similarly, after you pass this God tribulation, there will be many benefits for you. You will know in a while." The simple rules allowed the contestants to know what to do. In fact, it was just a competition to see who could endure more. The stronger one's endurance, the longer one could endure. As for what the reward would be, he would only know after he passed the test. Everyone knew what he meant after hearing that. Following that, they were arranged to find a spacious area to wait in. The deity battle arena before them was extremely spacious. It could even accommodate 1,000 people. It would not be a problem for it to accommodate 100,000 people. It was really too spacious, and the surrounding audience was very far away. Of course, their cultivation was astonishing. No matter how far away they were, they could still see clearly. There was no need to worry about not being able to see clearly. The content of the second stage is a bit different. I've never seen it before. Nian Ci said worriedly, the difficulty doesn't sound low. Yi Tianyun and the rest should be able to pass it. Everything was hard to say. Even if Yi Tianyun displayed great strength, it did not mean that it would be easy for him to pass the tribulation. As long as it wasn't over, everything was unknown. After everyone was ready, the sky began to change color in an instant. Layers of thick tribulation cloud appeared in front of them. The first to appear was the black tribulation cloud, which looked no different from the black clouds in the thunderstorm outside. Rumble! Dense heavenly lightning rumbled in the clouds, as though it would strike down from above at any moment. Everyone started to be alert. It was about to begin. After the heavenly lightning rumbled, it became thicker and thicker. From the initial size of a finger, it became as thick as a person in the blink of an eye. First stage. As Elder Go Huang's words landed, a thick heavenly lightning smashed down ruthlessly towards every participant below. Not a single one was left out. There was no need to get lucky. The main thing was that the participants below would have to undergo this test. Close to 1,000 thick lightning bolts struck down. The white light flashed, making it hard for people to open their eyes. It was a spectacular sight. Boom! The thick lightning smashed onto Yi Tianyun's body. The densely packed lightning was quickly absorbed into his body, turning into his experience points. Not bad. There are indeed some benefits. Tianyun, who was meditating, smiled. Just by using his body to withstand the lightning, he instantly gained over 100 million experience points. It was comparable to the effect of the Sacred Hall of Life. This was only the first stage. He probably wouldn't be able to absorb as much later, so he could only withstand it. Of course, he didn't need to withstand it himself. His body was enough to withstand it. Boom, boom, boom. The thick heavenly lightning didn't stop. Instead, it smashed down madly, constantly striking on their bodies. Some used weapons to withstand it, but there were also those like Yi Tianyun, who could withstand it with just their bodies. Yi Tianyun looked up. Earth Lord Tianqing was simply sitting there. The heavenly lightning didn't even land on her before it was burned away by the flames around her. Earth Lord Demonic Eye and the others were the same. The energy around their bodies was enough to withstand the heavenly lightning. Yi Tianyun, on the other hand, was in close contact with the heavenly lightning, which was rare. Others couldn't absorb the experience points for themselves like him, so they all chose to resist it outside. However, there were some exceptions. For example, Earth Lord Yunlei, who was a little unhappy with Yi Tianyun, had been absorbing the lightning at a crazy rate. The heavenly lightning was also a great tonic for him, so he naturally absorbed it if he could. Earth Lord Yunlei glanced at him and was a little surprised. This kid, does he also have a lightning attribute constitution? He was a little curious when he saw Yi Tianyun withstanding the heavenly lightning. Soon, the first stage was over. A beam of energy descended from the sky and enveloped them. Dense astral power began to flow into their bodies and began to nourish their bodies. This feeling was like a normal heaven's tribulation. It could heal their bodies and strengthen their powers. However, it was different from heaven's tribulation in that it didn't contain any power of laws. Fortunately, it worked well for them. This might be the benefit that Elder Go Huang mentioned. It's indeed very similar to heaven's tribulation. It's quite amazing to be able to simulate it. Yi Tianyun sighed. If he could master this ability, it wouldn't be a problem for him to nurture a good disciple. Soon, the second stage was about to begin. They didn't have much time to rest. The originally thick layer of clouds became several times thicker. It was still the same thick heavenly lightning, but the heavenly lightning had suddenly increased by several times, becoming even bigger. Kaboom! The huge lightning continued to hit Yi Tianyun, and he absorbed a little more experience. However, this time, he couldn't completely absorb it. The rest was blocked outside and didn't seep into his body at all. Chapter 10:10. More and more powerful bolts of lightning struck down, but Yi Tianyun took them all without any pressure. Only someone with a strong physique dared to do this. The second stage ended quickly. Basically, each stage only lasted for 2 hours. After the end, there would be rewards. First, their injuries were healed, and then some energy was given to them for cultivation. After 2 stages, not a single one of the thousands of participants failed. If they couldn't even withstand the second stage, they would be too ashamed to stay here. Only those who passed the 5th stage could be considered to have passed. If they failed the second stage, It meant that their strength was average. Fortunately, those who passed were the elites of the elites, so they had no problem withstanding it. The third stage. As Elder Go Huang's voice sounded, the clouds in the sky thickened again, and the heavenly lightning intensified again. It was still only at the level of heavenly lightning. Apart from that, there was nothing else. However, just this alone was terrifying enough. The heavenly lightning became thicker, like a giant dragon rolling in the clouds, ready to smash down at any moment. Boom! Another heavenly lightning struck down, and Yi Tianyun still used his body to block it. With a loud bang, the arena was filled with white light, so bright that it was hard to see clearly. Boom, boom, boom. The heavenly lightning didn't stop, and it continued to strike down crazily. In fact, the attack frequency was no different from before, but the power was much higher. In the third stage, a few people finally let out a few screams and were turned into charcoal by the heavenly lightning. But they didn't die, just heavily injured, and were teleported away. The moment they fell, they were teleported away, so they wouldn't be hurt a second time. Soon, the third stage ended. More than 100 people disappeared, which meant that more than 100 people were eliminated. The power of the third stage was shocking. Many people failed and even more people survived. But those who used their bodies to block were few and far between. Only a few people continued to block with their bodies. Does this kid really have a heavenly lightning body? Earth Lord Cloud Thunder was stunned. He had been paying attention to Yi Tianyun the whole time. Who knew that he would still use his body to block in the third stage? Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder also used his fleshly body to block. He was curious if Yi Tianyun had a body of heavenly lightning. If he did, then he would be a match for someone with the same constitution. At the same time, Yi Tianyun was being watched by many experts. After all, he was the first in the first round, so they had to pay close attention to him. When they saw that Yi Tianyun's body could withstand 3 stages in a row, they couldn't help but wonder if he had a heavenly thunder physique. Boom! The clouds in the sky pressed down again. The clouds became thicker and thicker, but they didn't go up. Instead, they went down. As the clouds thickened, they felt more and more stifled, and the attacks became closer. At this time, there was still a huge bolt of heavenly lightning. It had doubled again. Could it only imitate tribulation lightning and not tribulation fire? No one hoped that there would be more tribulation fire. It was already quite terrifying to have tribulation lightning all the time. After all, more than 100 people had been eliminated in the third stage. If this continued, who knew how many more would be eliminated? Fourth stage. Kaboom! A bolt of lightning the size of a mountain struck down from the sky. Just as it was about to hit the cultivators, it turned into a thin bolt of lightning and bombarded the bodies of many cultivators. The screams were soon covered by the loud thunder. When the white light disappeared, the audience saw that more than 100 people had been eliminated in an instant. It was just one bolt of lightning, and another 100 people had been eliminated. Kaboom! Another bolt of heavenly lightning struck down. The moment it disappeared, which was a moment of relief for the audience, they saw another 100 people had been eliminated. There were less than 1,000 people at first, but in the blink of an eye, almost half of them had been eliminated. There were less than 500 people left. This number was decreasing sharply. The following bolts of lightning continued to fall, and finally, no one was eliminated. Those who could withstand several strikes could completely withstand the rest. At this time, the audience noticed that Yi Tianyun could continue to withstand the attacks of heavenly lightning without any pressure. This situation was the same as Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder. He didn't feel any pressure at all. It should be the body of heavenly lightning. I didn't expect this kid to have the body of heavenly lightning. The 9 region lords were full of jealousy. They didn't expect such a genius to appear in the heavenly mandate's sacred realm and beat them. What they didn't know was that Yi Tianyun didn't have the body of heavenly lightning at all. He was just misunderstood. After the 4th stage, the participants had a short rest. Energy kept falling to help them recover from their injuries. At this time, there were only more than 400 people left in the field. Such a miserable situation made many of the sacred lands speechless. If some continued to fail, they would be completely eliminated, which was really embarrassing. For example, there were only 3 people left in the heavenly mandate sacred realm. Sima Kong failed in the end. He couldn't withstand it with his strength. Only Yuan Tianyu could. That was not too bad. Only Earth Monarch Sun Shui was left in the 9 regions, and Yu Qingling was left in the Fire Jade's sacred realm. They had been proud of themselves, but now they found that only one person was left. If they couldn't even withstand the 5th stage, then everything would be over. By then, they would be reduced to spectators, and their performance in the future would have nothing to do with them. The heavenly mandate domain lord almost laughed out loud. He had 3 people on his side. No matter what, they should be able to pass, right? They only hoped that someone could make it to the top 50 or top 30. It would be great if they could make it to the top 10. If it were in the past, there would be no one left in the heavenly mandate sacred realm. They would be eliminated before they even reached the last stage. Therefore, they were extremely surprised this time. They hoped that Yi Tianyun and the others could make it to the top 30 or even the top 10. Yi Tianyun didn't even bother to look up. He continued to close his eyes and waited for the divine test. The 5th stage. Elder Go Huang announced the 5th stage again. The sky thickened again. The key was that the clouds began to surge with a faint red color. Following that, the red light rolled in the clouds, which meant that the divine test this time had added the calamity fire. As long as they passed this stage, they would be qualified. As expected, the passing stage would be more difficult. Whether they could pass or not depended on this stage. Many participants looked up at the sky and felt the scorching heat of the flames. They didn't even release it, but they could feel the extremely high temperature starting to burn the surface of their bodies. It would be terrible if they were to be flung down. All the region lords and elders were praying in their hearts, hoping that their contestants would be able to make it through this round. Chapter 10-11. Many of the region lords only wanted their disciples to pass. That was a very low requirement. The main thing was that after seeing the difficulty, they knew it was not easy. They all knew the strength of the disciples they sent. Therefore, it was already good enough to ask for a pass, let alone a very high standard. While others are worried about whether they can pass or not, Yi Tianyun is like an old monk meditating, just sitting there, ignoring everything. Boom! Divine thunder and divine fire fused together, forming a huge beam of thunder and fire that bombarded down from the sky. It aimed at every participant, not missing a single one. Boom! When the attacks smashed down, there was another loud noise, and the entire divine battleground shook. The screams could not be heard at all, completely covered by the loud noise. Many of the region lords stretched their necks and looked forward, wanting to see if their disciples could pass this test. As the fire quickly disappeared, the number of people in front of them was halved. There were only about 200 people left in front of them, which was almost half of the number of people they had before. Some looked like they could barely hold on, but their bodies were already charred black. However, they quickly took out elixirs and kept stuffing them into their mouths to recover from their injuries. They had to pass the 5th stage no matter what. The remaining stages did not matter, as long as they could pass the 5th stage. While others were stuffing elixirs into their mouths to recover, a small group of people easily resisted all of this. The sacred fire on earth Lord Tianqing burned everything, including the divine thunder and divine fire that came down. It could not hurt her at all. Earth Lord Yunlei was also fine, but he did not dare to use his body to resist anymore. Instead, he put up a thick layer of divine thunder to resist the invasion of the divine fire. He was not afraid of the terrible divine thunder, but the terrible divine fire. The difficulty is not bad. Earth Lord Yunlei and the others could not help but look at Yi Tianyun, and their pupils shrank. This kid still withstood it with his body? The heavenly mandate region lord was shocked. He thought that Yi Tianyun would use some other ability to resist, but he did it with his body. This was the most shocking part. Previously, he might have been able to resist with his body because he had the body of divine thunder. Now, with the addition of the divine fire, he could still resist it? Protectorate Lord, have you forgotten that he possesses 2 types of demon fires? Nian Ciu reminded her. Only then did the Heavenly Mandate Region Lord remember that Yi Tianyun had two kinds of demonic fires. Then there was nothing to be afraid of about the so-called divine fire. This time, a smile appeared on his face. He would definitely pass the 5th stage. Boom boom boom. The divine fire and divine lightning struck Yi Tianyun again and again, but Yi Tianyun was able to withstand all of the attacks with ease. He was wearing the evil demon god set and the ancient desolate set. His defense was shocking, so why would he need the heavenly thunder body? Even if the attack seeped into his body, he could absorb it without any pressure. The others were different. Even if they were wearing good armor, if the energy was not expelled in time, it could easily cause problems. Thus, he did not dare to use his physical body to block it unless he could absorb this energy. After 2 hours, the 5th stage finally ended. There were only 150 people left on the field. Unexpectedly, there were only 150 people who passed the test. This result was already quite surprising. At least there were still more than 100 people who could pass such a cruel test. If there were only a few dozen people, it would be embarrassing. We passed, we passed. Many of the contestants cheered. Even if they passed, they would be satisfied. This power was too terrifying. It was good enough to pass, so they did not dare to ask for more. Some people were happy, while others felt that there was nothing to be happy about. For example, the real strong cultivators like Tianqing and Earthly Lord did not feel anything at all. They were all expressionless. Demon-eyed Earthly Lord looked at the people on the other side and sneered, "A bunch of idiots. You just passed and you are so happy. No wonder you are a bunch of fools." These geniuses, who were high above, naturally looked down on those who only wanted to pass. In their opinion, these contestants who were so easily satisfied would never reach a higher level in their lifetime. Yi Tianyun opened his eyes slowly. Murong Xiao had persisted, but these tests were not friendly to her. Whether it was the divine thunder or the divine fire, her element was somewhat restrained. However, she still persisted, which was really unexpected. Yuan Tianyu also persisted, but he looked half dead now. He would definitely lose in the next stage. Ling Yunfeng looked relaxed, which meant that his level would not stop here. Yu Qingling also persisted. It had to be said that the few people he had seen could all do it. Big Brother Tunyan, you are so powerful but you still used your body to resist? Murong Xiao naturally saw it. Yi Tianyun's strength refreshed her view. It's all right. You have to be careful. Yi Tianyun smiled. The clouds in the sky are getting thicker and thicker, more and more pressing down. If this continues, the thickness of the clouds will be pressed down on the ground. Before the contestants could be happy for long, the 6th stage was about to begin. Elder Go Huang would not give them too much time. After all, passing was not the end. The real final stage was the 9th stage. The 6th stage is about to begin. Everyone, please get ready. Elder Go Huang reminded. The contestants who were originally very happy all prepared to resist. They wanted to try and see if they could endure through the 6th stage. Rumble, another color appeared on the clouds in the sky, gold. Without a doubt, this gold color must be metal energy. As expected, there was an additional smear of gold in the rumbling divine thunder. This meant that the divine thunder that could destroy the world was mixed with the power of metal. This made the divine thunder look like an extremely sharp spear mixed with scorching divine fire. It looked like a spear that was heated red. This level of divine tribulation made their expressions change. The power was much stronger than before. If they were pierced by this spear, wouldn't they be turned into ashes? Yi Tianyun looked up at the sky. His appraisal eye flickered, and the detailed combat power kept jumping, 180,000 star power. Actually, this was nothing. It was too weak for him. But for some Earth monarchs, this was simply a nightmare. Most of them could only burst out a few 100,000 star power, and this was the limit. How could they resist an attack of this level? If I am slightly weaker, I can only stop here. The test here is really too difficult. Yi Tianyun shook his head. It was more than difficult. It was simply insane. Chapter 10:12. The rolling thunder and lightning in the clouds gradually condensed into a divine spear. As it became more and more solid, the pressure on everyone increased. They even felt the fear of death. If they were penetrated, they would indeed be seriously injured. As for death, it was possible. As the power grew stronger, it would naturally be fatal. Everyone's expression became serious, and they did not dare to take it lightly. Only a few people could remain calm in the sixth stage, and Yi Tianyun was one of them. Swish! Like a thunder spear, it suddenly pierced through and wanted to nail the contestants to the ground. Under the terrifying thunder spear, the space began to tremble, and the space was about to be penetrated. Boom! The terrifying attack came crashing down like a huge meteor. The attack that could destroy heaven and earth had finally begun. The dazzling white light filled the entire world. No one could see what was happening inside as they were all covered by the light. However, existences with powerful cultivations had eyes that were like torches. They saw everything clearly and didn't miss a single detail. The white light quickly disappeared, and in the blink of an eye, there were only 90 people left from the original 150 people. More than half of the contestants were gone. Among the 90 people, more than 50 people were seriously injured and covered in blood. It was obvious that the terrifying thunder spear had almost penetrated them. Among the remaining 40 people, some were lightly injured, and some were uninjured. Those who should be calm were still calm, and there was no problem with them sitting there. The only ones who could behave like this were Yi Tianyun and Earthlord. They just sat there and resisted. However, from the naked eye, Yi Tianyun was more domineering. He was unharmed and there was no pressure at all. Everyone couldn't help but gasp when they saw this. Was he using his body to resist the attack? This caused many contestants to look sideways and feel a little surprised. Not bad. Demon-eyed Earthlord's eyes twinkled with evil, but he didn't think there was any problem. Some people's skin was very thick, and it was difficult to break through their defense. However, it was only their defense that was strong, and the rest were weak. The 5 elders nodded. They did not feel very surprised, nor did they feel the slightest bit shocked. They were already used to this kind of scene, but they felt that Yi Tianyun's standards were still acceptable. This human youth is pretty interesting. It's been a long time since I've seen such a strong human. The elders of Go Huang nodded and looked at Tianqing. The contestant who can control the holy fire is even more amazing. Everything that approaches is burned into nothingness. Yes, that human youth is not bad, but compared to the possessor of the sacred flame, there's still a big gap. Their defenses are powerful, but when they clash with the flames, everything will cease to exist. They had some appreciation for Yi Tianyun, but they were more appreciative of Heavenly God and Earthly Lord. Boom! While everyone was discussing, the lightning did not give up on condensing. It quickly condensed a second attack. The power was the same as before. It was still the divine spear attack, mixed with powerful penetrative power, enough to pierce through everything. Swish, swish, swish. The attack pressed down fiercely again. The white light continued to shine, and the explosions continued to ring out. There were fewer and fewer contestants. As the 6th stage ended, there were less than 50 people who could continue to sit on it. When the light came down, the contestants finally breathed a sigh of relief. They began to take out a handful of elixirs and stuff them into their mouths to recover quickly. That attack was so terrible. I almost couldn't hold on. Yes, it was so terrible. I felt like I almost died. They were shocked. Fortunately, they had held on, or else they would have lost. To be able to make it to the 7th stage was already a great achievement. There were less than 50 people in the audience. To be precise, there were only 46 people left. Out of hundreds of thousands of contestants, only 46 people were left. It was really cruel. Of course, there were more than 150 people who could successfully enter the 3rd stage. However, if they wanted to perform well in the 2nd stage, they had to continue to hold on. The elders of Go Huang did not announce the rewards, but they knew that they would not be stingy. Moreover, the better the performance, the more likely they were to be selected as disciples. They only said that it was possible to enter the top 100, but it was not absolutely possible. Hence, they had to perform well. Otherwise, they could forget about joining the 5 God Realm factions. These 5 God domains weren't the only Grade 2 God domains. There were many other God domains, but only these 5 God domains were willing to accept the mortal world's experts. If they wanted to become a God Realm faction, they could only join through the ascending battle in the God Realm. The other factions could not enter. Obviously, a God Realm faction could reach the ascending battle by flying. However, if one were to casually step in and be discovered, the only outcome awaiting them would be death. It was like humans and dogs could not enter. Cultivators who did not meet the standards could forget about entering. The 7th stage is about to begin. There is no way to guarantee your safety in the next stage. If you are unable to block it, there is a possibility that you will die. Please consider this carefully, Elder Go Huang reminded. The 7th stage was different from the other stages. Its power would definitely double. Hence, if they continued to hold on, they would definitely die. I choose to withdraw. Someone immediately chose to withdraw without any hesitation. They were already on the verge of death in the 6th stage, not to mention the 7th stage. If they died, everything would be for naught. I also choose to withdraw. The surrounding audience did not laugh at them. They felt that it was normal. Not everyone could hold on until the end. As long as they could advance, it was already good enough. The fact that they could hold on until now meant that they were the victors. As more and more people chose to withdraw, only 26 people remained. Once again, the number of people decreased by half. It seemed that there were still quite a number of people who felt that they had reached their limits. How do you feel? Can you still hold on? Yi Tianyun looked at Murong Xiao. It was already quite impressive that she could hold on until this stage. Yu Qingling and the others had already failed. Yuan Tianyu was the same. It was already good enough that they could hold on until this stage. I can still hold on. Murong Xiao nodded with a stubborn expression. She still wanted to hold on for once and recognize her own potential. Alright, if you can't hold on, just collapse. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and did not try to persuade her. He knew that he could not change Murong Xiao's mind. He could only let her continue. Chapter 10:13. After everyone left, Elder Go Huang announced, "Let's begin the 7th stage." As soon as he finished his sentence, another color appeared in the sky, earthy yellow. They added the power of earth to the gods' test. A heavy force pressed down from the sky, making them feel as if there was a mountain on their shoulders. Many of them bent over. They could already feel the immense pressure before it even started. The power of earth seeped into the godly lightning, adding a tinge of earthy yellow to it. This meant that the godly lightning had become stronger, increasing the power of earth. Yi Tianyun looked up at the godly lightning. Its power had indeed doubled, reaching 400,000 points of astral power. Compared to the previous 100,000 points of astral power, this increase was beyond a certain level. Even an ordinary Lord of Heaven wouldn't be able to withstand this terrifying attack. But now, it was descending on the Earth Lords. The pressure was immense. Buzz. The giant spear was about to pierce through. The spear had only just appeared, but the pressure had already doubled. Some of them wanted to hold on, but their faces turned pale when they saw the situation. It seemed that they couldn't hold on at all. They would really die. I give up. Some of the participants chose to give up when the godly lightning struck. After all, this was a fatal attack. There's no such thing as giving up once you make a choice. Unless you lose consciousness after the first attack, you'll have to endure it. Elder Go Huang looked at them coldly. I've said it before. You don't have that many choices. Don't think that you can fool us just because you deliberately lose consciousness. Elder Go Huang's words made the participants turn pale. Didn't that mean they had to endure the first attack? Yi Tianyun looked at them and shook his head. This was like entering a dangerous place. Once you entered, you wouldn't be able to get out. Unless you found an exit from another place, you would be trapped inside. Once you tried, you had to take it seriously. There was no way you could go back on your words. The region lords couldn't help but curse out loud. They had thought that their disciples would be able to hold on. So, they just wanted to try and see if they could pass it. Is there such a saying nowadays? He was simply courting death. This would make quite a few region lords a laughingstock, causing them to lose face. Boom. The divine tribulation did not stop. Soon, a bolt of divine lightning struck down heavily. Under the dazzling white light, it took away a small group of people's lives. They were completely blasted into pieces. After the first bolt of lightning ended, 5 people were blasted into smithereens. It was obvious that they had been turned into a pile of meat paste on the ground. This was the cruel reality, a reality that could not be changed. Originally, they could have successfully advanced to the next stage, or at least entered the 3rd stage. But now, forget about the 3rd stage, all their efforts had been for naught. This was what it meant to give it a try. No one pitied or sympathized with them. This was the price they had to pay for not being responsible for themselves. Yi Tianyun glanced at Murong Xiao. Rings of green light were released from her body. She had now transformed into a towering tree. Even if it was just a tree, its defensive power was still terrifying to the extreme. It was able to resist this savage divine lightning. However, her situation was not ideal either. Many places were injured by the divine lightning, but she could still persevere. Seeing that Murong Xiao was able to persevere, Yi Tianyun smiled. It was not because he had a good impression of her, but because her level was indeed shocking. It was just that among the remaining participants, there were a few that he felt were stronger. Apart from Heavenly God Earth Lord, the other was Earth Lord Tegu. He was the one with the evil spirit race's bloodline. He did not use his physical body to resist, but rather used his weapons to attack. Every time, it looked like he was having a hard time resisting, but he still managed to persevere. This made him not stand out among so many participants. After all, he did not look powerful, so he did not attract much attention. Now that there were fewer people, someone finally noticed him. They all suspected that this Earth Lord Tegu was hiding his strength. Others guessed that he was hiding his strength, but Yi Tianyun believed that he was. He could feel that there was a terrifying power in this Earth Lord Teji's body. However, he could only detect it with his appraisal eye. Ordinary senses would not be able to detect it. If there was anyone present who looked powerful and had the power to win, Earth Lord Tegu was undoubtedly one of them, and the other was Earth Lord Heavenly God Earth Lord. As for the others, they were completely insignificant. What Earth Lord Demon Eye? What Earth Lord Cloud Thunder? They did not have any power to speak of. They were powerful, but to him, they were not as mysterious as the other two. Soon, the 7th stage of the divine lightning finally ended. Yi Tianyun still used his physical body to resist, and the others also used their powerful strength to resist the 7th stage. However, there were only a dozen people left, and the number of people was reduced by half again. It's finally over. Many people heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts and quickly recovered from their injuries. At this time, the ground was already scorched black, and there was no place that was unharmed. It was enough to show how tragic it was. Not bad. Congratulations on enduring the 7th stage. If so, you can choose to withdraw now or choose to stay, Elder Go Huang continued. Immediately, some people chose to withdraw, and the number of people decreased from 12 to 8. Among them, Murong Xiao chose to leave. Big brother Tianyun, do your best. I'm already at my limit. Murong Xiao's face was pale. It was quite amazing that he could endure until now. Yi Tianyun nodded, and Murong Xiao left. Even Lingyun Peak chose to leave this place. There were only a few people left, and all the experts present saw it. Among them were Earth Lord Heavenly God Earth Lord, Yi Tianyun Earth Lord Demon Eye, Earth Lord Tegu, Earth Lord Cloud Thunder, and 3 unknown participants. Yi Tianyun did not know the 3, but they were not weak. However, they did not have any interaction with him, so he did not bother to pay attention to them. However, apart from Yi Tianyun, the rest of the people who could stay here were Earth Lord 7 refinements and above. The strongest was Earth Lord Heavenly God Earth Lord 8 refinements. Next is the 8th stage, and its power will be even more shocking. Elder Go Huang looked at them and said, "It's quite amazing that you can endure until now. This is the range that only the Lord of Heaven can resist. Of course, to be able to endure until the 7th stage, in our opinion, is only a beginner." Chapter 10:14. Many of the failed participants paled when they heard that. Didn't that mean they couldn't even reach the beginner level? If they couldn't even reach the beginner level, how could they join the 2nd grade God realm? Wasn't that saying that they couldn't join the 2nd grade God realm in advance? Their eyes were filled with disappointment and sadness. They had worked so hard for so long, yet they couldn't even reach the threshold. Just reaching the beginner level doesn't mean that those who didn't make it to this stage will be rejected. I just want to say that according to the standards of our God realm, this is just reaching the beginner level. Elder Go Huang smiled. Everyone has different standards, but it doesn't mean you don't have a chance. You can still join our God realm to cultivate. I just want to make it clear that you think you have the right to be arrogant, but in our God realm, you are only at the beginner level. After saying so much, he just wanted to make it clear that they shouldn't be arrogant or complacent. If they thought that they were strong because they passed the 6th stage or the 7th stage, they shouldn't be arrogant. Elder Go Huang's declaration that they were only at the beginner level was equivalent to pouring a bucket of cold water on them to calm them down. Everyone finally understood what Elder Go Huang meant. He just didn't want them to be arrogant. The 8th stage, prepare to begin. Elder Go Huang didn't say much. After he finished speaking, a new color appeared in the thick clouds, green. It was a shade of green, as if it was full of vitality. However, they didn't feel any vitality at all. They only felt a special force trying to extract the vitality from their bodies and suck them dry. Is it the power of wood this time? Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. If he didn't guess wrong, the next stage would be the power of water. The power of the 5 elements only appeared later. They were all stacked in the divine lightning, becoming more and more powerful. As the power of the 5 elements increased, they formed a mutually reinforcing state. How could the power not be terrifying? His combat power doubled again, reaching more than 800,000 points of star power. In other words, was it really prepared for an Earth Lord? The problem was that it was prepared for an Earth Lord. Elder Go Huang wasn't lying. To them, this power was only at the beginner level. Under the same level of cultivation, a Grade 2 God Realm cultivator would far surpass a Grade 1 God Realm cultivator. It wasn't that they were too strict, it was just that judging by the standards, those who couldn't meet the standards would be eliminated. This is already the 8th stage. Can he still use his physical body to resist? This was what many people thought of Yi Tianyun. Such a terrifying power, mixed with so many attributes. If he did not resist it, once it invaded his body, it would undoubtedly cause great harm. If he still uses his physical body to resist, your heavenly mandate divine region will have one less participant, the 9 region lord said with a smile. You don't have to worry about this, 9 region lord. I think he knows what he is doing, the heavenly mandate region lord quickly retorted, not giving face to the 9 region lord. Didn't you hear Lord Go Huang's words? He wants them to not be too arrogant and to learn to fight steadily and surely. You've been using your physical body to block the attacks just to show off and attract more people's attention. The 9 region lord shook his head and sneered, this is a good way to attract people. Maybe he is already an arrow at the end of its flight and can't hold on any longer. Is that so? Even if he can't hold on, at least he has made it to the 8th stage. I wonder how long the people sent by the 9 region lord can last? The heavenly mandate region lord immediately embarrassed himself. To be fair, our people won't be able to last long in this stage, but that doesn't mean they're weak. The 9th region's domain leader sneered. It looks like your people really want to use their physical bodies to block the attack. Once they die, everything will be in vain. Everyone looked over. Yi Tianyun was still not ready to fight and was still meditating in the same place. Of course, Tianqing and Earthly Lord were also meditating in the same place. The others all stood up and were ready to fight. Tianqing and Earthly Lord still had the sacred fire surrounding him. What could Yi Tianyun have? He didn't release any energy, and he looked very normal, as if he was meditating normally. Boom. The god's tribulation did not care whether Tianyun was ready or not. The next moment, it smashed down heavily on the contestants. The power soared into the sky, and the terrible energy tornado swept around. However, it hit the thick shield and made a pa-pa-pa sound. It could not break the thick shield. Everyone stared at it without blinking, wanting to see what happened to Tianyun. In the 8th stage, Tianyun became the protagonist. Because he dared to use his physical body to resist, how could he not attract attention? After the light disappeared, what appeared in front of everyone's eyes was still that undamaged body. Tianyun's body was covered with lightning, but it only left a mark on the surface of his body. Soon, it gradually disappeared, and he was not hurt at all. What? Everyone was shocked by this scene and stood up. Could the 7th stage be played like this? After such a terrible divine thunder penetrated his body, he did not feel any pressure at all. In fact, Tianyun had already felt a little hurt, but only a little. The terrifying defense set, coupled with the terrifying defense of the dragon god's bloodline, was enough to stand above everyone here. All along, he had been most proud of his physical defense. If his defense was strong enough, what kind of attack would he have to worry about? It's not over yet. I don't believe that this kid will still use his physical body to resist. The 9-region lord gritted his teeth. Soon they were disappointed. Countless divine thunder smashed down, but Tianyun absorbed it all. Apart from the power that was too strong to be absorbed, almost half of the energy was absorbed into his body and turned into experience points. It could be said that this was feeding him experience points. How could he not use his physical body to resist? As he continued to resist, he felt that he could break through to the level of the 7th refined Earth Lord. He only needed a little more experience to break through. Of course, this little more experience was still calculated in tens of billions, which was much less than the original total experience. The 8th stage was over, and Tianyun was only slightly injured. Everyone was speechless. Elder Go Huang squinted at Tianyun, and so did the other elders. Their previous judgment was that Tianyun could not continue like this, but now they were wrong. Tianyun could still resist with his physical body. Chapter 10:15. The fact that Tianyun could withstand the 8th stage with his body was beyond everyone's expectations. This was the late stage of the 8th stage. How could it be played like this? It feels good. If I hadn't improved, I wouldn't have been able to withstand it. Tianyun twisted his neck and quickly absorbed the energy that remained in his body. The tyrannical energy ran amok in the planets in his body, destroying many of them. This was why he didn't dare to move the people from the 3 realms in. If they did, they would be seriously injured by this kind of attack. The planets in his body were like this. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled everywhere. It was not a problem to solve it. The problem was that if someone stayed on the planets, they would be turned to ashes by the impact of this attack. The cultivators in the 3 realms were not strong enough. This was an attack that even an ordinary Lord of Heaven couldn't withstand. If the cultivators from the 3 realms were here, they would definitely die. Under his care, the damaged areas on the planets in his body were quickly repaired. There was no problem at all. Many people were still shocked by Tianyun's performance. It was really infuriating to compare oneself with others. Others had to risk their lives to resist. Tianyun just sat there and used his body to resist. His defense was really abnormal. This power is really terrifying. I wonder if he can withstand it in the final stage. In the final stage, he must get up to resist. That's his last strength. He can't continue to resist with his body. Someone immediately concluded that Tianyun would definitely get up to resist in the final stage. Otherwise, he would definitely be split in half. If he was like Tianqing, an earthly lord, it would not be a problem to use the sacred fire to resist. However, the two were completely different. Both were sitting on the ground, but one was using the sacred fire and the other was using his body. The difference was like heaven and earth. Tianqing, who didn't pay much attention to all of this, locked his eyes on Yi Tianyun's situation. It's a little interesting. I thought this duel was not interesting at all. Tianqin closed his eyes again. The moment he closed his eyes, there was a little more interest in his eyes. Earth Lord Tegu was also sizing up Yi Tianyun with greed in his pitch-black eyes. There was no need to mention Earth Monarch Demon Eye, as he was also shocked by Yi Tianyun's situation. They all knew how terrifying the 8th stage was, but Yi Tianyun was still able to withstand it. It was evident how strong his defense was. No wonder you dare to talk back to me. So you have some ability. Demon Eye Earth Monarch's eyes were filled with killing intent. This made him feel threatened. Earth Lord Cloudy Thunder didn't utter a word as he stared fixedly at Yi Tianyun. As for the other 3, they were eliminated in the 8th stage. Only the 5 of them were left in the arena, and they were the top 5. This could be considered to determine the qualifications of the top 5. To be able to withstand such a terrifying power was enough to prove that they were not simple. All right. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord only said good, and did not say anything else. What else was there to say about all this? This is the best result in the history of our Heavenly Mandate Region, isn't it? Nian Xiu and the others were all excited. They felt that everything was like a dream and not real. They had always been at the bottom, but suddenly they had made it to such a high level. This time they felt that they had really picked up a treasure. A super genius suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and he didn't even need to train them. Even if he was a ready-made genius, he had successfully obtained such a high honor. The 9th stage. Elder Go Huang announced the next stage and explained at the same time, this is the last stage. If you can withstand it and pass, you will get the greatest honor. You don't even need to participate in the 3rd stage to become a disciple of any of the 5 divine realms. When this announcement was made, the crowd suddenly burst into an uproar. They didn't expect that passing the 9th stage would directly get a place to join the divine realms. Wasn't this reward a little too much? They didn't even need to pass the 3rd stage to directly join the 5 divine realms, and they could choose at will. According to the normal process, even if they had an okay result, they couldn't choose at will. They could only let these divine realms choose, and the gap was obvious. But on the other hand, didn't it mean that the 9th stage was already unbelievably terrifying? If that wasn't the case, Elder Go Huang would never say so. As expected, Elder Go Huang continued to add, the 9th stage is the most difficult, unprecedentedly difficult. It is many times more difficult than the 8th stage. Now I solemnly remind you that if you should give up, you should give up. If you force yourself to continue, you will die. Of course, in this 9th stage, I will give you a chance to regret. If you feel that you can't do it, you can choose to give up. They had never enjoyed such preferential treatment before, which was enough to show how cautious they were. After hearing what Elder Go Huang said, everyone looked serious. It seemed that the 9th stage was not easy. Is there anyone who wants to give up now? Elder Go Huang glanced at them. No one chose to give up. After all, they could choose to give up immediately. No matter what, they wanted to see how terrifying the 9th stage was. Since no one wants to give up, then we can start now. The 9th stage soon appeared in front of them. The clouds were no exception. There was an additional layer of light blue. This meant that there was an additional power of water. The power of water was placed last, and then integrated into the god's tribulation. As soon as it integrated, the power of the 5 elements in the sky completely integrated. Soon, the thick clouds began to gradually solidify. From the originally thick clouds, it became thinner and thinner. It was not getting thicker and thicker, but thinner and thinner. As the clouds became more and more solid, a huge 5-element square array was formed in the sky. After the 5-element square array was spread out, it began to form mutually reinforcing layers. Under the interlocking, the power stacked layer by layer, becoming more and more powerful. Layer after layer of energy began to circulate, circling round after round. An even more terrifying divine thunder condensed in the sky, and more shadows appeared. This shadow was the shadow of Elder Go Huang. It was unexpected that Elder Go Huang personally enhanced it. How could its power be ordinary? Boom! A bone-chilling sound of thunder rang out in the sky. Elder Go Huang's shadow held a huge divine thunder in his hand, and the power of the 5 elements was integrated into the divine thunder. At this moment, Elder Go Huang seemed to have turned into a god of thunder, and he was above everyone else. This is indeed the last stage. Its power is indeed terrifying. Ikenyun's appraisal eye kept flashing, and the power of the thundercloud skyrocketed, reaching more than 2 million astral power in an instant. This was already the limit of the 3rd or 4th stage of the Lord of Heaven. No wonder it was said that if one could withstand this attack, he or she would be able to enter the divine realm. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.